Hey guys, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto doesn't summon the toads when Jiriya pushed him? If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. Naruto was a boy who wanted so much in the world and was given so little because of the burden he had with the Kyuubi inside of him. All he wanted was to get stronger, to show everyone he wasn't a monster, and that there was a difference between a jail of a demon with that of the demon itself. Now because of Jiriya's attempts of him tapping into the Kyuubi's chakra in an attempt to summon the toads, Naruto was certainly now going to die after being pushed off into this ravine, and trying to save his ass using the demon's power. Unfortunately, Naruto was too afraid right now to even do such a thing, and with so little of his own chakra being used up, he had found there to be little chance of summoning a tadpole like last time. I have to do something or else I'm flesh paste, thought Naruto, as he reached out for the jagged edge of the cliffside with his right arm, using what little chakra he had left to stick to it. Unfortunately, all things with jagged edges tend to shred other things that try to cling to them, and this was no exception, with Naruto's arm practically being mauled by the wall, and the young boy could only scream out in pain while trying to survive this immense fall that would lead to his death. While he did this, Naruto was hit with images of the past, and how the people of Konoha had treated him because of his burden. Could this be the end for him? How would the old man explain his death? Would anyone even miss him? It was at that thought that the image of Hinata flashed into Naruto's mind, and it was then that realization of why she was always blushing hit him like a ton of bricks. Unfortunately, it was at that time the ground hit him too, and landed him in a big crater that held his body imprinted from the fall, knocking Naruto right into the depths of his mind. Naruto's Mindscape. You finally arrived here. I was beginning to wonder when you would, said a smooth, deep voice that could make even the strongest of warriors' blood run cold with fear. Who are you? Where am I? Said Naruto, as he stood up in this dank sewer filled with leaky pipes, and a cage with the word, seal, written on a piece of paper in the middle that kept the doors shut. We're in your mind, my vessel. Not very impressive, since the way you have been treated by these miserable flesh rats has made your mind most unpleasant a place, said a deep demonic voice from beyond the cage, and in that instant red chakra flared to reveal the giant nine-tailed fox known to all as Kyuubi. And now we are here together, which is perfect since the fox is the final piece to this puzzle, and the means for you to live, Naruto, said the figure with silver hair, wearing a blue trench coat, and was wearing black from his shirt down to his boots. You didn't answer my question. Who are you? Said Naruto, as he knew about the fox, as it didn't take a genius to figure it out. But the guy in front of him with the same blue eyes as him he couldn't figure out, and as far as Naruto knew, he only had one guest sealed inside of him. I am Sparta, no Virgil. I am your ancestor that lived nearly 1 millennia ago, before the elemental countries even existed, said Virgil before looking at Kyuubi, who was now growling at him, and flaring his crimson chakra even more. I knew I recognized you. You are one of the twin sons of Sparta, the legendary demon knight, said Kyuubi, snarling at Virgil, and the form of the said man turned to stare at the fox without fear. Yes, I am. As I said before, Naruto is my descendant, and has the power to awaken his demonic blood again that has long been dormant after being watered down by human blood over the years, said Virgil, as he saw Kyuubi look at him, and then at Naruto in what looked like fear. As if the Yondaime sealing me up in his own kid is bad enough, but to find out it was inside the actual descendant of Sparta is even worse, said Kyuubi, as he saw Naruto look at him in shock, and the fox realized that his vessel didn't know about his heritage. My father was the Yondaime? Said Naruto, as he saw Kyuubi nod, and Virgil as well to further confirm it. He was the only one at the time to have the strongest blood of our family after so many years, and I believe he could have even awakened it had a certain fox not attacked, said Virgil, as he saw Kyuubi growl at him, and then looked at a still shocked Naruto. It wasn't like I just woke up one morning to destroy this village of arrogant fools. I was summoned to this world by Uchiha Madara by using his cursed eyes to have me attack the leaf, said Kyuubi, who had no love for the Uchiha clan, and wished the man that summoned him along with the entire clan to die painful deaths. Still, that would explain why you did it, and not entire your fault. Not that it matters now since I'm about to die, said Naruto, as he looked depressed, and saw Kyuubi's eyes widen in shock. What? Said Kyuubi, as he had no intention of dying, and having his soul taken to the Shinigami. That stupid jerk Jiraiya pushed me off the ravine cliffside to activate your power so I could summon a large toad. I couldn't do it because I was so afraid and I tried to grip the wall edge. It slowed me down, but it messed up my arm rally bad before I hit the ground, and now I'm most likely going to die without anyone even caring that I'm going to kick the big one, said Naruto, as he kicked some of the water on the ground, and had an angry look on his face. Under normal circumstances you would most likely die, but we can offer you a chance to change all that, and transform you into something incredible, said Virgil, as he now walked towards Naruto, and placed a hand on his shoulder. What do you have in mind? Said Naruto, as he looked at Virgil and saw the man smirk back at him. Kyuubi is going to jumpstart the dormant devil blood in your veins. You would have fully awakened it on the bridge back at Wave Country had you finished your initial intent of killing Haku, but you stopped right before you could deliver the finishing blow, and resulted in your devil staying dormant, said Virgil and saw Naruto looking away from him for a few seconds. I couldn't kill her. Haku wasn't a bad person and she deserved to be shown mercy, said Naruto, as he had no regrets in sparing Haku from that killing blow, and just wished the girl was alive to live in the village happily. And we respect that. When Kyuubi gives you his soul, you will be empowered with the devil blood of your family, and all of my knowledge in terms of fighting. In truth, you will become me, and you will be unstoppable, said Virgil, as he saw Naruto's eyes widen at the thought, and the chance to show everyone just what he could do. There is just one problem with your plan, son of Sparta. What makes you think I will give my soul to one of your blood? Said Kyuubi, as he was not about to help someone who was descended from the traitorous demon's bloodline. You either do this or your vessel dies from his injuries from the fall and you can have a one-on-one meeting with the Shinigami right before he devours you into his stomach, said Virgil, as he saw Kyuubi growl at that, and scanned the boy's body for the injuries that covered Naruto's form. What you say is true. It seems I have no choice, but to give in to your idea, and give you my soul along with all my power. At the very least, can you promise me one thing, and one thing only? Said Kyuubi, as the fox sounded depressed, and looked at both individuals with his burning crimson eyes. What is the promise? Said Virgil, as he saw the Kyuubi close its eyes, and then open them again before letting out a sigh. That you kill all the Uchiha clan members. They are a clan that should not live in this world, said Kyuubi, as he knew that at least through Naruto he could get some measure of revenge, and through a namikaze that is descended from Sparta himself. Done, said Virgil, as Naruto looked like he wanted to protest, but stopped when the taller man put a hand on his shoulder, and shook his head to tell Naruto to not protest this decision. He's my friend Virgil-san. How can I kill a friend? Said Naruto, since the Uchiha was kind of like a brother to him and he thought of Sasuke as such that would push him to the brink when it came to training. Naruto, I understand your reluctance, but your so-called friend will destroy you without hesitation, and betray you for power, said Virgil, as he saw Naruto look away in denial, and was surprised when the Kyuubi decided to speak. The son of Sparta is right, kid. The Uchiha clan is well known for only two things that they're quite proud of: betraying others and copying the skills of those they betray. Trust me when I tell you that the Uchiha is not worthy of being your friend and he will betray you as all Uchiha do, said Kyuubi, as he saw Naruto look at him, and then back at Virgil before nodding. I understand, said Naruto, as he let out a sigh, and readied himself for what needed to be done. Good. Now brace yourself, Naruto, as this will painful, and will blow your mind away, said Virgil, as he turned to Kyuubi, and the demon let out a mighty roar before beginning the process of giving everything he had to the two to make the fusion complete. Naruto was going to be in for one wild ride. Hokage Tower at the moment. You did what? Yelled the Hokage, as he had moved so fast you wouldn't think it was possible for an old man to do that, and had Jiraiya pinned to the wall while squeezing the life out of his student while tears fell from his eyes. I tried to get him to use the Kyuubi's chakra by pushing him off a cliff, said Jiraiya, as he tried to break the hold, and was then slammed back against the wall hard. What could have possessed you to do it in that way? It's bad enough the boy is hated by these stupid people, but for you to do that to your student's own son, and your godson no less, is inexcusable, said Hiruzen, as he threw Jiraiya away from him before stepping back until he reached his desk, now fully crying. I'm sorry. All right. I fully expect him to tap into the fox's power and summon a large enough toad to save him. Why hasn't his training progressed like it was supposed to? Said Jiraiya, as he had hoped the old man would make Naruto strong enough to be able to summon Kyuubi's power at will. The councils didn't want the boy to become powerful because of the Kyuubi, and with Danzo pushing the boy to be a weapon of the village, I had to make a choice on which side to support. I had hoped Kakashi would be able to help Naruto with training when I set up the teams, but the man only trains the Uchiha because of what happened years ago, and has only taught Naruto tree-walking chakra control. Had you been a proper godfather, the boy wouldn't be so crippled by the council's decisions, and I could have done more for him, said the Hokage, as he let out more tears than he had ever before in his entire life, and felt the guilt of the past 12 years of not protecting Naruto properly eating away him. That was when the two felt it. The feeling demonic bloodlust on such a level it made them fall to their knees in fear. In fact, everyone in Konoha did, and everyone had frozen in fear at the demonic power of the crimson-purple energy that rose high into the air. It formed into a demonic creature of epic proportions with demonic wings before it let out a mighty roar that shook the ground around Konoha. And then just as it came, it immediately left. What was that? It was like the Kyuubi 12 years ago, only worse, thought the old Hokage, as he now struggled to his feet, and Jiraiya was doing the same. Sensei, said Jiraiya, but was silenced by a hand from the Hokage, and the old man looked at him now with cold hard eyes that held no love for the Toad Sannin. Don't even try to apologize, Jiraiya. I will announce Naruto's death after the Chunin exams are over, and I want you to know I will hold you responsible for this when I reveal the boy's heritage to the village. That you killed the Yondaime's son, and it was you that neglected your duties to him for the sake of your research, said Hiruzen, as he gave the hand signal to tell Jiraiya to get out of his office, and sat down in his chair before crying again at his failure. After few minutes, the old Hokage summoned his Anbu to him, and told them to check out the ravine that Jiraiya took Naruto to in order to search for anything that could be connected to the demonic power felt by all. The Anbu obeyed and headed out, though even they were silently afraid of whatever caused that demonic power to erupt. Weeks later, the day of the Chunin exam finals. It had finally come. The day of the Chunin exam finals had come for everyone that had wanted to see the competitors fight for the glory of their village. Though for the Hokage, he watched the audience around him with a heavy heart, and wished to see only one of the competitors now among the line down in the arena floor. Naruto. The Anbu the Sandaime sent never came back, as they had gone missing for several days before another team was sent out to find them, and they were found, only they weren't just dead like the old Hokage suspected. They had been cut ruthlessly to pieces. Jiraiya was now standing behind him with a serious look on his face that now masked his secret shame, and knew that it wasn't going to be long before everyone heard of it. He knew that Naruto's life was going to be bad, as he had told Minato that from the start, but his stupid apprentice just wouldn't listen, and thought Naruto would be the symbol of hope for everyone. All it did was make the boy a symbol of their hate. It was during his time away from the old man after the confrontation with him over what he did to Naruto did Jiraiya realize how much of a failure he had become. How much he should have done for Naruto, but didn't do it, and now couldn't because the boy was most likely dead. Jiraiya had heard from the second Anbu team about how the first one was obliterated from this world, and the Sannin suspected it was possibly the Foxes doing now that it was free with Naruto's last act in this world to bring vengeance against the arrogant people in this village. It was practically poetic justice. Jiraiya then turned to the case cage sitting in the chair next to his sensei and immediately sensed something was off about the man along with the bodyguards he carried. While the exams would start soon, Jiraiya would keep his eyes on the case cage, and make sure this man was in fact who he was underneath his face cloth. "Where's Naruto? And Sasuke-kun?" said Sakura, as she waited for her two teammates to arrive for the exams, and Ino beside her was wondering as well. "I don't know. Naruto was looking forward to this fight to avenge Hinata after what Neji did to her," said Ino, as she did think it was romantic that Naruto would do something like that for Hinata, and was slightly jealous of the Hyuga girl because of it. Why couldn't she get a guy like that? "Naruto-kun, where are you?" thought Hinata, as she held her hands over her heart, and wondered where her crush was. This is not like Naruto-san to be late for something this tremendous. If anything, he should have been here early, thought Shino, as he looked on waiting for his teammate's crush to arrive. "Naruto, please forgive this old man, as I was too weak to do what was right, and show me mercy when I reach the afterlife," thought Sarutobi, as he sighed when he came to the decision he had made with the intention of ending his life after revealing everything to everyone, and making his death a rather public event to destroy these people for what they had done to the poor boy. With a wave of his hand, the Sandaime commanded the Junin Proctor Genma to begin the Chunin exam finals, and had to hold back the tears that wanted to escape him again. The first match of the Chunin exams will now begin. Will Hyuga Neji and Uzumaki Naruto step forward while the other competitors go the fighter's box to wait until it is your turn, said Genma, as he heard the crowd cheer, and the Junin wondered if it was for the obvious reason that Naruto wasn't here. Coward. He says he'll make me pay, but in the end he's nothing, and will be nothing just like you Hinata-sama. Thought Neji, smirking at the empty space that was supposed to be where his opponent was supposed to stand, and it increased when he came to the belief Naruto wasn't going to show up at all. Since Uzumaki Naruto is not here, Hyuga Neji is said Genma, but was silenced by a blast of killer intent so powerful that Gaara in the stands nearly had to grip the metal railing for support while Shukaku was screaming at him to run away of all things. The source of the killer intent was a boy slightly taller than Neji, with spiky silver hair, cold blue eyes, and was wearing a blue trench coat. The lone figure was dressed in black from his shirt to his steel-toed boots, and had a sheathed katana sword in his hands that were currently behind his back. Hyuga Neji is my opponent. Start the match, said the figure, as he looked into the Hyuga prodigy's eyes, and saw the confident look on the boy. Oh, how he was going to enjoy beating his ass. I'm sorry sir, but you are not Uzumaki Naruto, and I will have to act, said Genma, as he tried to put a hand on the boy's shoulder, and found his hand crushed by the said boy in one swift second. I am Naruto, you fool. Now start the match so I can kill this Hyuga prick, said Naruto, as he threw the Junin away to mend his hand before turning his eyes to the Hokage now leaning over the railing to look down at him with hope in his eyes now filled with tears. He's alive. Naruto's alive, thought the Hokage, as he could finally make up everything that happened to the boy, and do what should have been done from the start. Jiraiya was looking down and saw the boy's eyes were filled with a cold fire in them that made a chill run up his spine. The last time Jiraiya had seen eyes like that on a namikaze aimed at him was the time when he had been caught by Minato peeping in on Kushina at the hot springs. Jiraiya thought he wouldn't be able to walk after Minato got through with him. Hokage-sama, is that boy really Uzumaki Naruto? Said a Junin walking up to the old Hokage, and the Sandaime looked at the Junin with fierce eyes filled with fire thought to be lost so long ago. Of course it is, you fool. Tell Genma to begin the match now, said Sarutobi, as he was not about to deny the boy his fight, and hoped he would have a chance to apologize to the boy for everything he failed to do. I just received word that you are Uzumaki Naruto, so the match will begin now, said Genma, as he flexed his right hand involuntarily, and brought his left hand down to start the match. It doesn't matter how much you changed over the course of this month given to you to prepare Naruto-san. You are a loser and you will never defeat someone that is a Hyuga prodigy, said Neji, as he got into his gentle fist stance, and began to look into Naruto's eyes that betrayed nothing while saying everything. Before I destroy you Hyuga Neji, will you answer me one question, and one question only? Said Naruto, as he still had his hands behind his back with his sword wrapped around his hands too, and saw the confusion in the boy's eyes. You should be more worried about how to live after this match Naruto-san rather than me answering your question, said Neji, as he activated his Byakugan, and gasped at the sight of the purplish-crimson energy that flowed through Naruto chakra network. Humor me Neji Baka, do you have any kind of remorse for doing what you did to your cousin Hinata during the preliminaries? Said Naruto, as he waited for Neji to attack, and knew the only way to do so was to attack the man's inner being. Remorse? Of course I feel remorse. I feel remorse in the fact I couldn't deliver the final blow because of the Junin senseis that interfered on her behalf, said Neji, as he smirked at that memory, and saw Naruto's cold blue eyes narrow at him. In the stands, Hinata held her hands to her chest, and was on the verge of crying while her sensei sat beside her comforting her over that memory before glaring down at Neji. Neji's teammate Tenten felt sick in her stomach knowing that she helped train the Hyuga boy for this moment and felt the need to apologize to someone though she didn't know who. I see. Thank you for telling me this, as I now will feel no remorse when I do what I would rather not do in front of Hinata, and make her cry again like she is about to now, said Naruto, as he moved his sword to his side, and flicked the hilt with his left hand's thumb. It is fate that I win this day Naruto-san. Perhaps you have gotten stronger since last time, but I am by far the strongest of the Leaf Genin competing here today. Kneel before your better and surrender to me before I kill you, said Neji, as he found Naruto's calm behavior completely the opposite of what he saw in the preliminaries and wondered what had changed the former blonde now silver-haired boy. No, Neji-san. Fate has no power over me this day. Do you know why? Because I have the drive and the will to cut through it like a blade while you surrender to fate's veil like the weak Hyuga branch piece of trash you are, said Naruto, smirking at a shocked Neji, who had become infuriated by Naruto's words, and rushed forward to slay this commoner before him to show that fate was on his side today. His gentle fist style would have struck true had they not been stopped by two things. One was Naruto moving even faster than Neji. And two, Naruto spun after dodging before slashing into Neji's unguarded back with his sword, Yamato. After getting out of the ravine, Naruto found his body had changed along with his clothes that took on the form of his ancestor, and his mind that was once filled with little to no information was now filled with all kind of information in terms of taijutsu along with swordsmanship. Acting on instinct of the memories Virgil gave him, Naruto summoned the sword to his being using the fox's chakra that was now his own, and brought the sword to his hands. His thoughts on the sword were temporarily put on hold when the Anbu came, as they drew their weapons thinking that he was Kyuubi in human form, and was ready to be killed. They were slaughtered without mercy. Now here Naruto was walking up to his down opponent before kicking him onto his back to let the wound get infected dirt and placed the tip of his sword at Neji's neck. Neji for his part had not expected Naruto to move so fast and certainly not with the expertise in using a sword with the level equivalence of a master. This cannot be. Fate was supposed to be on my side. How can this commoner defeat me so easily? Thought Neji, as he looked into Naruto's cold blue eyes, and how they just judged him like a spider looking down at a helpless fly. You know, Neji, I could end your life right here, right now in front of all these people, and I could away with it just like you tried to do in the preliminaries against Hinata. I should slice you open and spill your blood all over for these people to see. I should make you beg for mercy after that crap you pulled in the preliminaries in trying to make Hinata submit to you with your words on her being weak, said Naruto, as he pressed the tip of his sword further into Neji's neck until it was just a simple muscle movement away from piercing skin, and ending the Hyuga's life. Are you? Said Neji, as he found himself between pain in his back he received from the sword wound there, and the sword Naruto was wielding that was currently touching his neck just below the jugular. I could, I should, but I won't because then Hinata would cry even more. I don't want her to cry over your death since she wants to free your arrogant ass of that seal on your forehead, said Naruto, as he took his sword away from Neji's neck, and flicked the boy's headband off his head to reveal his cage bird seal. She wants to what? Said Neji, as he ignored Genma announcing Naruto the winner, and calling for medic so he didn't die. You heard me. She hates that seal more than you do and that's saying something. If she wanted to beat you, all Hinata-chan would have to do is use that damn seal, and make you submit with everyone watching in a very humiliating way back in the preliminaries. Yet, she didn't, and chose to fight you honorably in gentle fist taijutsu. I want you to reflect on what I have told you, Neji, as you heal from your wound, and know that if you cross Hinata in any way possible that hurts her, I will kill you, said Naruto, as he sheathed his sword, and walked away to the fighter's box while ignoring the shocked crowd. I will. Thank you, Naruto-sama, said Neji, as he was being carried away by the medics, and looked into the sky to see birds flying freely in the air. My name isn't Naruto anymore. It's Virgil. Namikaze Virgil, said Naruto, now having renamed himself Virgil and revealed his heritage to the audience. He knows? How? Thought the Hokage, as he looked to Jiraiya, who shook his head to indicate he never told the boy, and also wondered how he knew. Could the Kyuubi have told the boy? And even so, how would the demon fox even know that? Thought Jiraiya, as he sensed the demonic aura around Naru Virgil, and wondered if the Kyuubi had taken control of the boy before altering him to its own specifications. He's a Namikaze? How could I have missed it? Thought Orochimaru in his disguise and silently seething at the notion that he missed out acquiring the ultimate vessel that could surpass the Uchiha. The boy once knew as Naruto cared not for these thoughts since he couldn't read minds, and even if he did he still wouldn't care what the trio thought. For now he would join the others in the fighter's box that were all staring at him like he had grown two heads, as was the audience itself, and it made the now Namikaze smirk at them. You have questions, said Virgil calmly, as he looked at the now empty arena floor, and waited for the next match to start. "What the hell happened to you?" said Shikamaru, as he got straight to the point, and saw Naruto look at him with an expression that would make the Hyugas run for their money. Hell, even the Aburame clan seemed to look more emotional compared to the Namikaze right now, and that was saying something. "You could say I made the pre-verbal deal with the devil," said Virgil, as he turned to look at the Hokage, who was whispering something to a nearby Chunin, and within a few seconds the Chunin appeared next to him in a poof of smoke. "The Hokage would like to speak with you," said the Chunin, who seemed hesitant to put his hand on the boy since Genma was an example of what happens to those that try to invade the young Genin's personal space, and pay for it heavily. "I know," said Virgil, as he vanished from sight, and was instantly in front of the Hokage, now shocked that the boy could do that. He wasn't the only one. "Naruto," said the Sandaime, as he saw the boy standing in front of him on the railing of the cage booth before the silver-haired youth stepped off of it, and looked at the old man walking towards him now with tears in his eyes. "Hi Gramps. Call me Virgil from now on." "Oh, did anything happen in the month I was gone?" said Virgil, as he gave the old man a smile, and the Sandaime hugged the boy tightly to see if the body in front of him was real. "Forgive me my boy. I failed you in so many ways for the past 12 years of your life," said the Hokage, as he felt the boy hug him back, and pat him on the shoulder. "You had your hands tied behind your back Gramps. I understand. Just don't take any shit from the councils anymore, let me do my thing, and we'll call it even when you hand over the title of Hokage to me. Oh, FYI, just so you know, I took the liberty of taking over the Namikaze estates, and spent the whole month there learning a lot of stuff thanks to the shadow clone jutsu," said Virgil, as he saw the Hokage's eyes widen, and Jiriya's jaw drop with his eyes bulging out of his sockets. "This kid is only using a fraction at best of his skills. How powerful could Virgil really be?" thought Jiriya, as he saw the boy let go of the Hokage, and then looked directly at him with ice-cold blue eyes that were very similar to Minato's back in the day. "Hello Rasengan. I do believe we need to have a little chat," said Virgil, as he had his right hand off his sword, and turned the hand into a fist that pulsed with incredible power. Yeah, about the whole pushing you off the ravine thing to activate the power that was sealed inside of you. I just want to say I'm sorry, and that said Jiriya, as he let out a girly scream after Virgil kneed the poor Sannin right in the family jewels that sent the student of the Sandaime some 20 feet into the air before Virgil spin kicked him into a nearby wall. "Apology accepted Rasengan. Though for the record Godfather, this beating is going to be one of many, as I expect you to train with me whenever I ask for it, and should you say no, I'll chop your balls off," said Virgil, as he turned to face the Hokage, and saw the man look like he had actually regained some of his lost age. "Hokage-sama, the Uchiha has not arrived yet, and the next match he has with Subaku no Gaara is supposed to start now. Should we postpone the match?" said the Chunin that had spoken to Virgil briefly and saw the Hokage thinking before Virgil decided to speak his mind. The Uchiha had his chance to compete today, but blew it by not showing up, and should not get a free pass because of his clan name. Clients will expect the shinobi they hired to be on time, and if we excuse Sasuke because of his clan, then we are telling them that we don't care about them. We tell them that they should have to wait for an uncertain and unknown amount of time because of spoiled children like him, said Virgil, as he looked down at Subaku no Gaara waiting now in the arena floor for his competition, and the crowd wishing for a fight. Virgil is indeed correct, as the Uchiha is not here, and we cannot have all of our clients think we favor the shinobi that are from the clans here in Konoha. Uchiha Sasuke is disqualified from his match and we will proceed with the next one, said the Hokage, as he knew the councils would blow out their vocal cords to yell at him, but Sarutobi didn't care, and wasn't going to care what they said. Why have an Uchiha fight when a Namikaze could do so much better? The Chunin nodded in regards to the Hokage's words and informed Genma to make the announcement that got many people in Konoha booing the decision. Virgil nodded before he disappeared again, but reappeared in the stands right next to Hinata's row, and the girl was now blushing from his presence once more. "How are you feeling, Hinata-chan?" said Naruto, as he saw the girl looking at him with shock, and her face turned even redder. "I am doing well, and Naruto-kun," said Hinata, as she rose to meet him, and was shocked to see him do something she never thought he would do. He took her hand and kissed it. "That's good to hear. I must apologize though for what I did to your cousin. Hopefully, the pain I inflicted on him, And my revelation will help Neji understand that fate is only as powerful as we let it believe it is. Oh, and if it's not too much trouble, could you please call me Virgil? It is my new name, said Virgil, as he saw the girl shooting steam out of her ears, and the girl fainted into her sensei's lap. What happened to you? Said Kurenai, as she saw her student lying in her lap blushing red with a smile on her face, and then looked up at Naruto, now named Virgil, seeing the young genin smirking at her. Why did Kurenai feel like she was blushing now? Why did Tenten and Ino feel like it too? I grew up, said Naruto, as he turned to the fighter's box, and vanished before appearing in front of the other fighters still looking at with cautious eyes. So smooth, so calculating, so handsome, thought Tamari, as she saw the once blonde now silver-haired genin stand next to her, and her breath was increasing noticeably. Will Subaku no Kankuro and Aburame Shino please come down to get ready for the next fight, said Genma, as the crowd was finally coming back to its senses, and wanted to see another fight. Proctor, I forfeit, said Kankuro, earning him boos from the crowd and the cold blue eyes that narrowed in on the puppet user with displeasure. Okay, Subaku no Kankuro forfeits, so Aburame Shino is the victor of this match. Will Subaku no Tamari and Nara Shikamaru step forward for their match, said Genma, as he saw Tamari fly down on her fan, and she looked ready to bash her opponent's skull in. That and impress a certain silver spiky-haired devil swordsman. Troublesome. Maybe I should forfeit too since I'm fighting a girl again, said the lazy as usual Shikamaru, only to be sent over the edge of the railing by Naruto by slugging the Nara over the head with Yamato's sheath. Consider yourself very lucky, Shikamaru. I could have done something else, but decided against it, and thought Tamari deserved to get her licks in on you, said Virgil, as he saw Tamari blush, and Shikamaru trying to get up from the crater he was in. Damn you, Naruto or Virgil or whatever the hell you call yourself. When I get back up there, I'm going to use my shadows to hurt you, and do other troublesome things too, said Shikamaru, as he got off the ground only to be attacked by Tamari, an iron fan she was now using like a club. Shikamaru mentally noted how the Tsunade girl's clubbing style was similar to that of his mother's when she used the frying pan on his father. Maybe it was genetic in all women to know that particular stance when hurting a man? Insult Virgil-kun, will you? Well, I'm just going to have to beat the crap out of you, said Tamari, as she let out a battle cry, and swung her fan at him, and the Nara barely dodging the attack. And the one after that. And the next one. And the next one. And the next one for the next 10 minutes straight, with Tamari attacking him ruthlessly with her fan. Stop. Stop. I give up. Proctor, tell her to stop. Naruto. Virgil. Whatever your name is, please call off this crazy troublesome woman, and save me, said Shikamaru, as he was able to jump out of the way of the wind jutsu Tamari shot from her fan, but landed on his butt, and was now at the blonde Tsunade girl's mercy. And in a Nara male's experience, women don't show mercy. Winner. Subaku no Tamari by forfeit, said Genma, as he felt pity for Shikamaru, and decided to give the kid a break. But I want to hurt him for Virgil-kun, said Tamari, as she looked up at Virgil with puppy dog eyes, and Shikamaru was shaking his head along with his hands to tell Virgil to say no. Make it quick, Tamari-chan, and then come back up here, said Virgil, as he heard the girl's yell of, thank you, and then the screams of pain delivered onto Shikamaru, with the final blow being Tamari's iron fan folded up before hitting the lazy Nara hard over the head, making him look like an ostrich when the cloud of smoke lifted. With her objective complete, Tamari put her fan on her back, and skipped to the steps of the fighter's box where she was humming a tune all the way up, making everyone except her little brother sweat drop. Women, you can't kill them, and you can't do anything to make them not hurt you for being you, thought Shikamaru, as he finally got his head out of the ground, and spit out the large clump of dirt in his mouth that had a worm in it. Okay, the next match will be Subaku no Gaara fighting Namikaze Virgil. Will both fighters please come down for your match, said Genma, as Gaara appeared in a swirl of sand yet again, and Naruto was some 10 to 15 feet away from him. Genma was about to start the match when a wind blew into the stadium to reveal Uchiha Sasuke and his teacher Hitaki Kakashi right behind him. I'm sorry, we're not late for Sasuke's match, are we? Said Kakashi, as his one eye formed into a U-shape, and many in the stands were sweat dropping at this man's lateness. Actually, you're very late, Kakashi. The Hokage disqualified Sasuke and we're now into the semifinals, said Genma, seeing the other Junin's shocked look, and Sasuke looking absolutely livid from that news. "What? Who is Gaara fighting? I'll take that weakling's place," said Sasuke, as he saw Gaara standing in front of someone the Uchiha didn't recognize, and wondered who it was the Kage's son was fighting. "Namikaze Virgil, formerly known as Uzumaki Naruto," said Genma, seeing Kakashi look like he was ready to have a heart attack, and Sasuke looked unimpressed, though the anger on the Uchiha's face never left him. "So he beat Neji. The Hyuga clan must be weaker than I thought," said Sasuke, as he walked over to the two fighters, and then looked into Virgil's eyes. "Leave, Sasuke. This is not your fight," said Virgil calmly, turning to the side slightly, as he now had his sheathed sword in his left hand, and his right hand twitched a little too. "You leave, loser. I'm an Uchiha. You're nothing but some pebble on my road to gaining power to kill my older brother, and I'm going to fight Subaku no Gaara," said Sasuke, as he took a single step towards Naruto, and instantly regretted it. He regretted it because Virgil had drawn his sword in a blink of an eye and had the long katana blade barely an inch away from Sasuke's own. "Leave, Sasuke. I will not tell you a third time, and if you refuse again I will make you very similar to Kakashi in terms of how you wear your headband from now on," said Virgil, as he saw Sasuke looking nervous, and so was the audience, since not many of them thought anyone would dare raise a blade to the last Uchiha. "Hokage-sama, stop Naruto, he's gone mad, and is threatening his own teammate," said Kakashi, as he looked for the old fire shadow for help, but found the man was not going to be so sympathetic towards the Uchiha, and the look in the old man's eyes made it clear he wasn't going to bow to the councils anymore. "The Uchiha had his chance to be here on time, Kakashi. Now it's Virgil's turn," said the Sandame, as he saw Kakashi was shocked yet again, and turned to look at Sasuke, trying to be defiant of his teammate's weapon. "He wasn't faring very well. I wish to fight the Namikaze heir. He is clearly the stronger of the two shinobi before me," said Gaara, as he had heard of the Namikaze clan, and to fight one of its members made fighting a member of the Uchiha clan seem dull by comparison. "Let's go, Sasuke. There is always the next exam that will be hosted here in a few more months," said Kakashi, as he pulled Sasuke back from Yamato's tip, and tried to keep calm under Virgil's penetrating blue eyes that made him want to take a good 100 steps back from the silver-haired boy. "You will have to forgive the Uchiha for his stupidity, Gaara-san. The arrogant tend to be the first that want to die in battle while thinking they'll live to see the next day. Such is the way of fools," said Virgil calmly, as he sheathed his sword, and looked at the statue-like form of Subaku no Gaara standing there with his arms crossed over his chest. "I agree. Can we begin now?" said Gaara, as he looked at the proctor, who looked up the Hokage, and saw the old man nod his head to proceed. "Namikaze Virgil vs Subaku no Gaara. Ready. Fight," said Genma before getting far away from the two, knowing they were about to do serious damage to the other. "As you are the guest here in Konoha and the Uchiha was quite rude, I'm giving you the first move in this fight," said Virgil, as he bowed his head slightly, and then waited for Gaara to make his move. The move was the cork on the gourd to fly at him before the sand in it began swarming around Gaara like mystical spirit. The cork was caught by Naruto before he threw it over his shoulder and cocked his head to the right for a second. "Prove my existence in this fight, Namikaze," said Gaara in a deadly tone, and all Virgil did was smirk in response before rushing forward. Gaara's sand launched itself at Virgil, as it sensed the swordsman's approach, and tried to wrap around the Namikaze like so many victims had done so in the past. However, Virgil was too fast for the sand, and drew his sword, slashing all around Gaara with the sand the Kage's son produced, taking the hits that were delivered. "This Namikaze guy can't win. He could slash at Gaara until he was green in the face and he still wouldn't be able to hurt our brother," said Kankuro, as he saw Virgil move faster than when Lee moved with weights, and yet the genin couldn't get past Gaara's defense. "That's what we first thought about that Rock Lee character, Kankuro. Virgil-kun is even faster, and I don't think he's missing on purpose," said Tamari, as she saw the flashing of the blade Virgil used, and saw what looked like wind surrounding the blade. It concerned Tamari greatly, as she saw Virgil attacking with ruthless precision while Gaara stayed perfectly calm despite the fact sand was flying everywhere, and after about 5 minutes the Namikaze was in front of Gaara some 15 feet away before looking back at his opponent. For a moment, neither of them moved, and many in the audience were on the edge of their seats at seeing the display of incredible power coming from the boy they had hated for so long. Then, in a mere flash of a second, Gaara's body gushed out sand from his armor that had covered his skin, and blood his body rained down all over it before the cage's son fell to his knees with a shocked look in his eyes. Gaara himself couldn't believe it, as he looked at the blood around him that was his blood, and coming out of his body at the hands of the half-devil before him now sheathing his blade. Gaara's scream of pain and agony that soon followed echoed throughout the entire arena into everyone's soul, making them shiver in fear of being in that state should they make the silvered-haired Namikaze their enemy. I hope you understand, Gaara-san, that I take pleasure in causing you untold amounts of pain with Yamato. However, I do what I must to ensure your plan in the invasion does not happen, and find a way to fix what has been broken in you, said Virgil, as he saw Gaara look up at him in fear, and sensed Shukaku quivering along with its vessel at the power the half-devil possessed. You are strong. You have given me a fight like no other. You have hurt my body like no other. I give up, said Gaara, as he looked up at Virgil, who looked at Genma, and saw the man nod his head at hearing the surrender, though the nod was more of a reflex than anything. Winner of the Chunin exam semifinals, Namikaze Virgil, said Genma, as he raised his hand towards Virgil, who walked away from the arena floor back to the fighter's box, and stopped when he felt a genjutsu begin cover the arena. It begins, thought Virgil, as he looked at the cage booth where an explosion from a gas bomb hitting the floor of the booth covered it enough to make the leaf shinobi hesitant to move, and made the half-devil tighten his grip on the sheathed blade while enemy forces that were disguises as spectators sprung from the crowd to engage the leaf. Virgil was no longer the supposedly stupid boy he had been for well over a decade, as his mind had been flooded with knowledge of past, and that of the present. Images from the first Chunin exams, the preliminaries, and Subaku no Gaara's demonic taint from the demon sealed inside of him when facing Lee in the preliminaries came running through his now tactical mind. Gaara was possibly the level of a cage already, so why put him in the Chunin exams? Answer. To use during the Chunin exams in a way that would cause chaos. However, with this key form of the attack against Konoha stopped from being carried out by the enemy, all that was left was the mastermind behind it all, and it certainly wasn't the cage. The man may be a cage, but he was no master tactician, and the only one that could pull off a skilled invasion was none other than Orochimaru of the Sannin. The man hated Konoha almost as much as the people in it hated the former blonde fox vessel, and would do anything it took to teach the Sandaime a very lethal lesson when it came to choosing successors. Cage booth at the moment. You were a fool to spare me all those years ago, Sarutobi-sensei. Even with our means to destroy everyone in this stadium removed, the combined might of Suna and sound will crush your weak little leaf shinobi into nothingness, said Orochimaru, as he removed the cage robes, and grinned viciously at the Sandaime now dressed in his combat armor with Jiriya right beside him. You were always one for the theatrics, Habiteme, said Jiriya, as he got ready for battle with his sensei, and saw Orochimaru look beyond the stadium like he was searching for something. But that something never happened. Where are the explosions? Where are all the Suna and Sound shinobi I already had get into position to invade with my snake summoning? Thought Orochimaru, as he frowned when he didn't hear anything aside from his bodyguards raising the barrier around the trio, and then the barrier that protected them from any harm from two of the three shinobi trapped inside of it. Looks like someone's plan didn't go according to what was drawn up. But then again, all plans almost always never go the way we want, and tend to change in the moment they are set into motion, said Jiriya, as he saw where Orochimaru was looking, and knew that whatever his former teammate had planned wasn't happening. This is insane. How do we get the Sandaime and Jiraiya-sama out of this thing? Said one of the Anbu watching the events unfold and saw the smirks on several of the four bodyguards of Orochimaru. You can't. This was designed to keep you out and them in, said Jirobo, as he saw the Anbu looking on, and powerless all the same. Yeah, you think you assholes are so tough? Well, you pig fuckers are going to see why our boss is powerful, and is going to win this little standoff, said Tayuya, as she saw the Anbu look at her, and were no doubt glaring at her through their masks. If Tayuya could flip them off, she would have. Such foul language. If it weren't for the fact you have red hair, and your voice is feminine, I would have mistaken you for a man, said Virgil, as he appeared next to her corner of the prison, and ignored her growling with the grinding of the teeth to match it. And who the hell do you think you are? Huh? Probably some fucker that gets himself off with that sword of yours entering your ass at night from the look of it, said Tayuya, as she waited for Virgil to lose his cool, and mouth off at her like many would in his place for her choice of language. Please, I don't want to hear about your secret fantasies that you dream of having at night of someone doing that to you, girl, said Virgil, as he walked away from the angry girl while the battle inside the barrier had Orochimaru with his sword drawn, Jiraiya dodging a cut from the poisonous blade, and the Sandaime using Enma the monkey summoning boss in his staff form to attack his former pupil. "You, what are you doing here, demon filth?" said one of the Anbu, as he saw Virgil walk slowly and methodically towards them until the boy stopped in front of the Anbu unit before turning to face the barrier in front of him. "Me? I am here to help the old man by breaking this barrier. However, you made it clear that I shouldn't be here, so I'll leave, and let it be known that the Anbu refused my help to save the Hokage because of your bigotry ways," said Virgil, as he turned to leave, and sensed the Anbu stiffen. "Wait, if you know the way to take down the barrier to save the Hokage, then please do so," said the second Anbu behind the first. "Why? I'm not welcome in this village even after you all heard what my last name really was, meaning you don't care about the Hokage in general. If you did, you would have honored my father's dying wish, and reinforced the Sandaime's law regarding the fox while protecting me when I was a child. You think I owe you anything for what the Kyuubi did to Konoha all those years ago? What I owe you is nothing but a good quick stabbing of my sword through your guts, and cutting you all vertically in half in front of your families," said Virgil, as he saw them tense when he turned slightly to face them, and sensed the first Anbu glaring at him heavily. "Damn demon, I don't care if you're the Yondaime's son, you're still a monster, and deserve to die like the council said you should," said the first Anbu, who was not going to change his opinion about Virgil for anyone. "If that is your final answer, then I am leaving to kill more of the invaders like I did the ones outside our walls, and further increase my reputation amongst our clients," said Virgil, as he had spent quite a bit of time before the exams killing the Suna shinobi that were preparing the summoning circle, and the sound shinobi that were hiding in wait to spring their trap during the Chunin exam finals. It was a shame no one really wondered why he was so late getting to the stadium in the first place. Though if it weren't for the shadow clone jutsu, Virgil doubted him getting to the stadium on time would have been even possible, and missed his fight with Neji. "No, please, we are sorry for what we did, and wish to seek your aid to help the Hokage in his time of need," said the third Anbu of the group, and knew that the only way to save the Sandaime was to make peace with the half-devil. Virgil stopped walking away after that and didn't move for a good 10 seconds before turning around to face the three Anbu. Walking back up to them, Virgil stopped less than 2 steps from them, as he turned to face the barrier again, and unsheathed Yamato with it spinning above his head, and brought it down hard to his side before sheathing it again with a slow yet calculating grace. "It is done," said Virgil, as his sword was fully sheathed with a clink sound before the purple barrier collapsed in front of him, and the trio that was once in the barrier looked at him in shock. "Thank you for helping the Hokage," said the second Anbu, but screamed in pain with the others, as they were cut into hundreds of pieces, and died a painful death. "I said I would help the Hokage. I never said I would spare you maggots for your past transgressions," said Virgil, as he walked. How is that possible?" said Orochimaru, as saw the silvered-haired entity looking at him, and then realized this was his chance before striking out at Sarutobi with his ever-trusty Kusanagi. Jiraiya saw this and was able to flank Orochimaru, knocking him away from their sensei before the poisonous sword could cut the old man. "Protect Orochimaru-sama," said Kidomaru, as he along with the other Sound 4 now moved to stop Virgil's advance, and tried not to feel intimidated by the smirk on the half-devil's face. "Idiots," said Virgil before he moved faster than they could see and knocked the 4 down using taijutsu mixed with using his sheathed sword in the process. The Sound 4 were down on the ground unconscious before another team of Anbu arrived on the scene, and Virgil walked over them to get to a now at a disadvantaged Orochimaru. "Surrender, Orochimaru, your plan has been ruined. You're surrounded on all sides, and you have no means to beat us," said Sarutobi, as he saw Jiraiya move to his right, and saw Virgil on the left with Anbu ready to strike from the Sannin's back. "Sorry, Sarutobi-sense, but you should know that a shinobi of my caliber always has a backup plan, and has the means to escape," said Orochimaru, as one of the Anbu behind the Sannin took out the others, and then removed his mask to reveal himself to be none other than Kabuto. "Time to go, Orochimaru-sama," said Kabuto, as he went through hand signs, and shot out an A-ranked fire jutsu at the trio before him. "Not yet. Keep them occupied a little longer, Kabuto. Summoning art. Impure World Resurrection," said Orochimaru, as he managed to raise a coffin with the word first written on it, and grinned knowing the odds just went up in his favor. You need to stop him, Jiraiya, said Sarutobi, as he was on tired legs, and saw Virgil spinning his sword in such a way that it blocked the fire jutsu from hitting them so it would give Jiraiya a chance to attack his former teammate. Seeing this, Kabuto cancelled the fire jutsu, and moved to intercept Jiraiya in order to hold him off long enough using chakra scalpels, and kept the Toad Sannin from getting close. With the coffin down, the Shoden of the Leaf came walking out looking well preserved, and looked at the old Hokage along with Virgil with sleepy-looking eyes. Is that you, Sarutobi? You've gotten old since last I saw you. Who is the silvered-haired boy with the sword? A student of yours? Said the Shoden, as he saw Virgil bow out of respect, and the Sandaime trying to stand. More like a grandson than anything, though not by blood, I'm afraid. Yet I wish he was, said Hiruzen, as he smiled at Naruto, who smiled back, and then turned to face the dead man now standing before them. I see he inherited your hair color, said the Shoden, as he saw Virgil smirk, and the Sandaime sweat drop. What is it about me being old that everyone finds amusing to poke fun at? Thought the Sandaime, as he focused on the Shoden, and Orochimaru standing right behind him with a kunai with a seal tag hanging off of it. Enough of this reunion. I originally planned for you to fight all of your predecessors, Sarutobi-sensei, but one of them is more than enough to said Orochimaru, as he screamed out in pain when he lost the sealed tag on his kunai along with his right arm after Virgil threw Yamato at the Shoden's face with enough force that it would go right through the skull, hit the sealed tag making the dead body decompose into the original body that was used in the sacrifice, and tear the Sannin's arm clean off. No one saw Virgil's right hand looked unnatural before it transformed back to a human appearance. You were saying Orochi Teme? Said Virgil, as he saw Orochimaru stumble back in pain, and was soon supported by Kabuto, who came to the aid of his master, and they immediately fled with some sound shinobi that broke away from the stadium fighting. Should we pursue? Said Jiraiya, as he looked at the tired Sandaime, and saw this battle took its toll on him both physically as well as psychologically from memories of years past. No, Orochimaru will make another appearance again eventually despite his failure here today. In the meantime, we must tend to those injured, and see what has happened during our little confrontation with my traitorous student, said the Sandaime, as he saw the all people in the stadium were safe, and the allied forces that invaded that weren't killed had been captured along with the Casecage's siblings. Though from the looks of things, the older siblings didn't put up a fight, and their sensei Baki was currently dead at the hands of a female Anbu with purple hair wrapped in a ponytail. Retrieving his sword, Virgil sheathed his trusty blade before turning to face the body a weak, as well as a barely alive Tsuchi Qin letting out a small whimper from her mouth, and her eyes staring up at the half-devil also indicated she wasn't dead. Picking her up, Virgil turned to the Sandaime before nodding his head, and then vanished to take Qin to the hospital to be revived into a state of better health in order to get answers out of her later. Things have definitely turned interesting around here, said Jiraiya, as he saw his new student leave, and then looked to his sensei having finally stabilized his breath with Enma in animal form supporting him. Yes, though I'm afraid things will get more difficult for Virgil because of the councils, as they will want answers to this newfound power, and may demand it be sealed up in the name of village security, said the Sandaime, as they had used that excuse before, and right after when the Kyuubi attacked to keep the poor boy crippled and developing into a fine shinobi. Well, I have your back in this one, sensei, and I doubt the clients will enjoy seeing the last Namikaze being treated unkindly by those traditionalists that cling to the old ways that don't work well in this world, said Jiraiya, as he patted his sensei on the back, and the Sandaime nodded in agreement. Yes. Soon word will spread of Konoha's last Namikaze, and I have a feeling the boy will become quite famous like his father, said the Sandaime, as he smirked at the thought of Virgil sticking it to those old fools, and obtaining what they would deny the half-devil. You may have to revoke your law on him, said Jiraiya, as many questions were going to be asked by everyone, and the law pertaining to Virgil made things complicated. It said you could mention the boy having the Kyuubi sealed inside of Virgil, but it didn't forbid anyone from calling the boy other names, and let the hint linger long enough for the younger generation to pick up what was meant by it. I know, though it may happen with Virgil going along with you to retrieve my second successor, said the third, as he turned to his student, and saw Jiraiya raise an eyebrow at that. A successor? Who? said Jiraiya, as he wondered just who had the right and the might to be the 6th Hokage of Konoha. Senju Tsunade, your old teammate and my student, said Sarutobi, as he saw the shock on Jiraiya's face, and smirked when it went pale at the thought of running into the woman again. Tsunade never did forgive Jiraiya for that strip poker game she had with him when they got drunk that one time, and she woke up in with very little dignity with even less clothing on. Oh, and Jiraiya had apparently taken several pictures he used for inspiration for some of his best-selling Icha Paradise books. Yep, Jiraiya was most definitely screwed. Virgil walked through the streets of Konoha to the Hokage Tower, as he was expected to speak to the councils regarding his transformation and his name change all in one. Of course the councils were going to dispute the claim of him being a namikaze, as they had no intention of the boy getting his hands on the vast knowledge and wealth that was in the large estate. However, what the councils wanted, they couldn't always get, as they would soon find out, and learn the hard way when they discovered he was the son of the Yondaime. He walked by the chestnut-haired secretary, who shot him a glare, but Virgil ignored the dumb woman, and accidentally hit the woman in the side of the head with the butt end of his sheathed sword hard enough to give her a killer headache for a good while. When Virgil entered the room, he saw the councils sitting on various sides to indicate what part of Konoha's government they represented, with the Hokage in the middle of this quite literally considered three-ring circus. On the Hokage's left were all the clan heads of Konoha with the exception of the Uchiha clan. To the right was the civilian council that dealt with all matters with the civilians of the Leaf, and in the center of it all, sitting next to the Hokage, was his esteemed Shinobi Council. "You asked for my presence, Hokage-sama?" said Virgil, as he saw the civilian council members glaring at him, with their main voice being Danzo, who looked at him with one calculating eye, and the shinobi council members that were the old man's old teammates doing the same. The clan heads kept their faces unreadable like Naruto's. "You were summoned here. You come here because we command you to," said Kaharu, as she was not going to be ignored by this creature before her, and wanted the demon to know that he belonged to her so long as she was on the shinobi council. Virgil simply tilted his head to look in her direction with a bored look on his face before looking back at the Hokage like the old woman was unimportant. Inwardly, however, the half-devil smirked at sensing the woman become irritated by his apparent disrespect, and had to keep his mouth from betraying him. "As I said before, you asked for my presence, Hokage-sama?" said Virgil, as he further felt Kaharu become angered by his disrespect towards her, and in truth the entire shinobi council. "Yes, Virgil-san, as it seems several members of nearly each section of government of the Leaf currently in this room are questioning your claim to the namikaze line," said the old sandame, as he had to hold back his smirk, and he knew Virgil was doing the same. "Questioning? The mere mentioning of this thing being of namikaze blood is an insult to the Yondaime and is blasphemy," said Homura, as he was not about to acknowledge that Virgil was the son of the Yondaime, and even if the boy was, he was nothing more than a bastard child sired with some whirlpool whore that spread her legs for the fourth just to be given a safe place to live. "Really? Well, what if I told you that you insulted my father's memory the moment you let the villagers learn of the Kyuubi sealed inside of me, and made my life miserable from the start? I believe my father wanted to have me seen as a hero, but you go around and do the exact opposite." "Why?" said Virgil, as he saw the old man next to the Hokage look like he was about to blow a gasket, and the civilian council looked like they were about to do the same. "Simple. You needed to be taught a lesson on who is the superior species in this world, you abomination," said Danzo, though inwardly he was cursing at not getting the boy for himself to put in his secret root program, and molding him into the perfect weapon. "So you think humans are the superior species in this world? What a poor joke you are in believing that," said Virgil, as he saw Danzo frown at that, and so did the others around him. "Virgil, we're not here to talk such semantics with you, but the claim that you are the Yondaime's son, and I have the means to prove it," said the sandame, pulled out a scroll that had the Hokage's seal on it before breaking it open to reveal a marriage certificate for the boy's parents and birth certificate that was signed by them before the Kyuubi had attacked. "This is," said Hiashi, as he looked at the certificates showing that Minato had indeed married Kushina, and the signatures below their own for witnesses was none other than Jiraiya of the Sannin. "Yes, I wed the two in secret, with one of the witnesses being the Yondaime's own sensei with the other being the Yondaime's own student Inuzuka Rin," said Sarutobi, as he had the councils beat, and the clan heads on his side since the laws of Konoha were quite clear on this with them now being in Virgil's favor. I will not accept these documents to be genuine. I demand we vote on this matter on whether or not the boy is allowed to have the Namikaze name. If it goes against the so-called Namikaze, then he must renounce all claims to the clan, and have his mind wiped before being banished from the Leaf forever, said a man on the civilian council, who was in charge of the merchant district, and had made sure none of the shops welcomed the demon into their stores. I agree, said Kaharu, as she knew that the civilian council, and the shinobi council would remove this thing's claim to the Namikaze line, and remove the beast from the Leaf forever. So do I, said Homura, as he believed the same thing as Kaharu, and knew they had the demon beat. You forget that under Konoha laws for such an occasion, the voting can only be done by the clan heads since this is a clan-based matter, and it is up to them to decide if Virgil is worthy of being considered a Namikaze heir, said the Sandaime, as he knew the civilian council, and the shinobi council would move against his surrogate grandson in this way. Damn it, thought Kaharu and Homura, as they saw Virgil smirk at them before looking at the clan heads, and saw them smirking too. I say the boy's lineage is genuine, said Hiashi, as he raised a thumbs up to indicate his vote, and made a mental note to have Hinata spend more time with Virgil. So do I, said Inoichi, as he raised his thumb up, and saw his old teammate Shuza do the same with his right thumb, and Shikaku next to him also giving a very lazy thumb upward since it was too troublesome to go against the current flow of things. The information before us clearly shows Virgil is the rightful heir to the Namikaze clan and therefore it is only logical that the Aburame clan shows its support too, said Shibi, as he raised his hand, and gave a thumbs up. I agree with Shibi here. This pup has a lot of potential that he got from both sides of his parents and the documents before us show he's not some illegitimate child. Even if by chance he was, I would still favor the kid, and say let him have what's his, said Sume, as she aimed her thumb upward too, and mentally noted to have Hana get to know this kid since he looked like strong alpha male material. Very well. It's decided then. Virgil is allowed to have the Namikaze clan name, all of his inheritance, and the estate that holds everything within it. Another matter that I have been meaning to take care of is to immediately end the Kyuubi festival that is always held on Virgil's birthday. I hereby announce that the festival will now end and to restart it for any reason will result in the punishment of all responsible parties, including the people in this room, said Hiruzen, as he saw the councils protest this, and were silenced by the Virgil walking towards the center of the table before slamming his now demonic fist through it to shut them all up. I know why you protest this action concerning the Kyuubi festival being ended by the Sandaime, as it means that the people will no longer have a chance to hate me like they do every year, and make attempts to end my life like they did when I was younger. So, I will tell you this right now, if anyone comes after me on my birthday with the intent to do me harm, I will destroy them, and anyone in this room responsible for it, said Virgil, as he took the documents of his parents' union, and his birth certificate before leaving the room. Hokage-sama, surely you can't be serious in giving that creature the last name of Namikaze, and removing the Kyuubi festival from Konoha. What would the Yondaime say if he heard your decision, said a civilian councilman, as he was going to make a formal protest, and make sure the people of Konoha rally against this decision. I think my late successor would say, what took you so long to do this, Sarutobi? Before killing every single person in this room that had a hand in some way of disrupting the boy's development into being a formidable shinobi, said the Sandaime, as he smirked at the people in the room shift uneasily at that, and knew that they wouldn't do anything because of what happened at the Chunin exam arena with Orochimaru. Even now clients were requesting Virgil for certain missions they felt only a Namikaze could handle. Konoha Hospital 2 hours later. Virgil walked through the halls of the hospital towards several choice rooms to see a few people regarding Orochimaru and what they knew of his operations. As he walked to his intended destination, Virgil ignored the looks from doctors, and the nurses looking at him with the occasional glare. Even with the fact that he was the son of the Yondaime being made known in record time throughout Konoha, it apparently didn't remove the hate the people still had for him, and only seemed to aggravate them more. No doubt, they felt that he being alive was an insult to the Yondaime, as the son should have died like his father to protect them from the Kyuubi and make their lives easier. How stupid could these people be? Deciding to stave off that line of thought for another time, Virgil entered room number 345, and saw one Tsuchi-kin in restraints with an Anbu watching her to make sure she didn't have the strength to escape unnoticed. Standard procedure of course when an enemy shinobi is too injured for interrogation, and needs to be placed in the hospital until they were healthy enough for interrogation later on. "Leave us," said Virgil, as he looked at the Anbu with a hawk mask on his face, and saw the man walk out of the room before shutting the door fully. "You were the one who saved me," said Qin, as she saw this handsome man before her walk to the side of her bed, and she felt her face heating up at seeing him for the first time without blurry vision. "That is correct. My name is Namikaze Virgil, but in another point in time of my life, I was known to all as Uzumaki Naruto, and the jail of the Kyuubi. Though the people in the leaf don't really care for the difference between the jail and the jailer itself," said Virgil, as he saw Qin look at him with a shocked look on her face, and remembering how he was back during the written test. "That was you? What happened to you?" said Qin, as she wondered how such a short, badly dressed leaf shinobi could turn into his hunk of a man that had every woman hot on his heels to have their way with him. Let's just say not all deals made with the devil are bad ones. Especially when you have nothing to lose, and everything to gain from such things that would make others hesitant to take it. Speaking of deals, I am here to make you one, as I spoke with the Hokage some time ago after the end of a meeting I had with him, the rest of the internal government of the leaf. What I require is all the knowledge of Orochimaru's bases, contacts, and anything else you may know about the Sanin's dealings in great detail to bring to the old man before I head out to track down his successor. Now before you become hesitant in this, I must tell you that if you say no, the head of the torture department Morino Ibiki will take over in getting the information, and in case you don't know who that is. He was the head proctor for the written test of the Chunin exam, said Virgil, as he saw Qin look at him with wide eyes, and then they went further at the fact in learning who Ibiki was. I can hold out. The Hokage is a sweet old man from what Orochimaru told us. Surely he won't let a pawn in the Sanin scheme suffer for the crimes for the snake, said Qin, as her resolve was slowly crumbling, but it was noticeable to even a rookie interrogator, and Virgil could see the fear in her eyes regardless of her words. Time to move in for the kill. True, the current Hokage is a sweet old man that can't do this job anymore, but at the same time that sweet old man is retiring soon, so when I bring back his successor, it won't be a sweet old man that takes the title of Hokage and shows mercy to you. The person that the Sandame wants to take over is woman, who has little patience for others around her, and has a short temper when it comes to those that resist doing what she asks. I also assume you know of your former master's teammate Senju Tsunade, said Virgil, as he saw Qin nod her head with some effort, and then her face paled when she put all the facts together. Wait, Senju Tsunade is going to be the next Hokage of the Leaf, said Qin, as she had heard the stories of the woman's temper and incredible strength that was inflicted on all that upset her. Particularly one toad Sanin of a teammate that got caught peeping on her years ago. Yes, when she takes the mantle of Hokage, she will have zero tolerance for those that invaded the village her grandfather founded with her granduncle. She will unleash Ibiki on you with all her vengeance in a way the Sandame doesn't have the heart to do now, and unlike the Sandame I have no way to influence her to show you mercy. The third Hokage and I are very close like family. If you give me what I want, I'll tell the Hokage to show you mercy through current Konoha laws, and make sure you stay out of the prison system where all sorts of people would make your life miserable upon entering that world, said Virgil, as he saw the girl shiver with fear at that, since she had a good idea of what would happen upon her entering the Leaf's prison, and that was no place for her. Besides, she had no loyalty to Orochimaru now after what he pulled in using her body to be a sacrifice for his freaky rising of the dead jutsu, and it couldn't hurt to spill what she knew if the law would help her rather than hurt. Right? What do you want to know? Virgil-sama, said Qin, as she saw Virgil smile at her, and once again feel her cheeks warming up again involuntarily. Let's start from the beginning with the population number of sound, said Virgil, as he pulled out a tape recorder and placed it on the stand that held her food tray. It was in that moment, Tsuchi-kin understood the phrase, and the truth will set you free, and did just that to be free from Orochimaru. Hokage's office at that moment. I've been going over some interesting reading here, Kakashi. Do you know what it is that I was reading? Said the Sandame, as he saw the man look at him with lazy eyes, and saw his hand itching for his book while in the seat across from him. Another copy of Icha Icha Paradise written by your student? Said Kakashi, as he didn't think anything of this meeting, and thought the old man wanted to congratulate him on a job well done with his team. It was the report that you submitted regarding your training regime for all 3 of your students since you first had them as your official team. Let's start with Sakura. According to your overall team report as of today, you have had her learn tree climbing, trap making with no means of perfecting her taijutsu, and simply recommending she learn genjutsu be added to her arsenal outside of academy basics without even taking her to see Yuhi Kurenai for such lessons, said the old Hokage, as he looked at the Chunin in front him, who still had a lazy look on his face, and had once again been resisting to read his book in front of the Hokage because of the serious face the man was making. It was something I planned to do, but the Chunin exams came up shortly after we got back from Wave Country, and Kurenai was busy with her team as it was, said Kakashi, as he had been meaning to have Sakura see Kurenai, but his time was better spent reading his book, and training Sasuke for the Chunin exam finals. I see. Next we have Sasuke's training regimen, which starts out with tree climbing like the others, but deviates later on with taijutsu training, and learning some of the justice you've learned over the years thanks to the Sharingan in your eye, with one of them being your Chidori of all things along with a copy of Rock Lee's taijutsu that he used in the preliminaries, said Sarutobi, as he looked at Kakashi for an explanation, and the Chunin simply gave him a masked smile with his only uncovered eye going U-shaped. Well, Sasuke was going up against Subaku no Gaara, who as it turns out is a demon vessel, and an unstable one at that. If I didn't teach him like I did, then Gaara would have crushed him had they fought, and the Uchiha clan's restoration would be in the hands of Uchiha Itachi. Something we both know is impossible at this point in time since the man has no intention of reviving his clan after destroying it, said Kakashi, as he didn't see what the problem was at all, and waited for the Hokage to continue. Lastly, your final student that was once Uzumaki Naruto has received the least amount of training from you, and has only learned tree climbing. Why is this? Why not teach him taijutsu or any of the jutsus you know, Kakashi? Furthermore, why did you focus on Sasuke during the month before the Chunin exams, and not on both of them equally? You had the time to do it and make sure Sakura had some time with Kurenai in the process? You knew the Hyuga Neji could easily kill Virgil had he not unlocked his new power, and had not met Jiraiya in the hot springs when he was with Ebisu. Why did you pass him off to Ebisu? You knew the man disliked Virgil from the start and was going to give him mediocre training at best, said the Hokage, as his eyes hardened even more, and it was then that Kakashi's eyes began to lose their laziness. Because Naruto has shown no real talent in being a shinobi. Even with the means to use the shadow clone jutsu, the boy has shown no talent other than being a total idiot, and it was simply a fluke the boy got so far in being a shinobi, much less make it to the exam finals, said Kakashi, as he was still a bit upset that the boy had taken his sensei's last name, and even more in drawing his sword against the last Uchiha. I see. Perhaps it was a fluke that Virgil passed. However, it wouldn't be a fluke had the academy been fair to the boy in teaching him, and his sensei actually putting in the work to teach him something outside of chakra control. You showed favoritism, Kakashi, which if I remember correctly, was something you were taught not to show when it came to teaching a genin team. Now your team is in a situation that does not look promising because it will now be a member short, said the Hokage, as he saw Kakashi's eyes widen in shock, and wondered what the old man meant by that. What do you mean, Hokage-sama? Will Sasuke get promoted even though he didn't fight? Said Kakashi in a hopeful voice, since that would give him time to focus more on the Uchiha, and make the boy stronger. Having enough of Kakashi's stupidity, the Hokage slammed his hand down on his desk, shaking it to a point that his pipe nearly fell off, and the glare that the Sandaime was given the Chunin could make water freeze. The Uchiha is not going to be promoted in any sense of the word, Kakashi. It's Virgil, who is being promoted to Chunin status, Kakashi, which is almost a shame since if it were within my power right now, I might even make him a Chunin since he's certainly around that level, and could exceed all expectation like his father, said the Hokage, as he saw Kakashi look at him with surprise, and wanted to protest the promotion. You can't be serious, Hokage-sama? The boy can't be trusted with that rank. He has no form of stability, his skills are barely passing as a genin, and the demon inside of him is another threat to consider if it decides to break free, said Kakashi, as he saw the Hokage shake his head at the Chunin, and let out a sigh of disappointment. Do you not even care that the boy you are trying so hard to keep from succeeding in the life of a shinobi is your sensei's only son? Said the Hokage, and was surprised to see Kakashi's eyes harden at that. That boy is not my sensei's son. I was the only son the Yondaime ever needed in his life, and I would have been officially adopted into his family had the damn fox attacked, causing Minato's sensei to be taken away after sealing the demon away, said Kakashi, as he had always been aggravated that Minato had fallen in love with Kushina, and had tried to discreetly steer him away from her. No such luck from what the Sandaime explained to the Junins earlier after the council meeting, which Kakashi was forced to attend on time, and then stay afterwards when everyone got their questions answered concerning the Namikaze heir. I'm sorry you feel that way, Kakashi, but as it stands, Namikaze Virgil is going to be promoted to Chunin rank, and will be sent out with Jiraiya within the week to find Senju Tsunade to take my place as the Hokage of Konoha, said the Sandaime, as he saw the Junin nod his head in acceptance of Tsunade being the new Hokage, but not that of his student's promotion. It was the wrong student. And what of Sasuke? Said Kakashi, as he needed to know where his student stood in this, and possibly get more time training the Uchiha. Sasuke is going to be reprimanded for not only being late, but interfering in one of the Chunin exam matches, and will be banned from leaving Konoha on any missions for the next 6 months, said the Sandaime, as he saw Kakashi become shocked by this, but accepted it nonetheless, and decided not to press the issue should it become worse. This mean Team 7 is on the shelf doing D-ranked missions, doesn't it? Said Kakashi, as he saw the Hokage nod, and decided that at least this way he could properly train Sasuke while giving Sakura to Kurenai for Genjutsu lessons. Yes, I suggest you take this time to reflect on your teaching habits, Kakashi, before you do anything else that could endanger your other students farther without proper training, said the Sandaime before dismissing the Junin from his office and let out a tired sigh. Konoha Hospital 3 days later. Virgil found himself having a sense of déjà vu in walking down the halls of the hospital yet again. Only his target, or rather targets this time, were the Sound Four that had been captured after getting trounced by the half-devil. Qin had provided a great deal of info in regards to Sound's interior from what she knew from training there with her teammates and about the Sound Four themselves, since one of them was a dear friend. Walking into the room, the half-devil Namikaze saw each member of the Sound Four was strapped down with various restraints that went against their strengths, and had several Anbu in the room. All 4 of them were awake, but silent since they had no intention of talking, and betraying their master to the likes of the Leaf. Well, at least until Virgil decided to change their minds, that is. Healing well, I take it, said Virgil, as he saw them look at him when he walked in, and one by one they began to slowly panic from the sight of him. He's come back to finish the job. Quick, someone toss us out the window, said Sakin, as he along with his symbiotic brother were now struggling to get free, and only stopped when their eyes met Virgil's telling them to stop moving. I did not come here to kill you, but that could change if you upset me, and since there are 4 of you here I doubt losing one of you will upset the Hokage. For you see, as long as one of you is even remotely alive to have a member of the Yamanaka clan probe your heads for answers, I can do whatever it is I want to you. And easily get away with it, said Virgil, as his words were like a cold chill running up their spines, and felt this guy was not someone they should upset. Our loyalty is to Orochimaru-sama. We won't tell you anything, said Kidomaru, as he tried to not be intimidated by Virgil's stare, and the creepy smirk that seemed to easily outdo Orochimaru's own. We'll see. I've already got a great deal of information from Tsuchi-kin, who has no such loyalty to Orochimaru after using her as his sacrifice for his summoning of the Shoden of Konoha, and if I were in her position, so would I, said Virgil, seeing the 3 male prisoners in the room curse Qin for her betrayal. But Tayuya was clearly shocked by this, and then eyed him carefully to see if he was lying. Orochimaru had originally told Tayuya that her dear friend Qin had been killed during the Chunin exam preliminaries and that the best way to get revenge on Konoha was to use the intended plan that was cooked up for the invasion that would wipe out the Leaf. At the time, Tayuya agreed wholeheartedly on the plan to avenge her friend, but now with this information coming to light, the red-haired foul-mouthed flute user was having her loyalty put into question, and wondered if betraying Orochimaru could be an option of payback for her. What will happen to Qin now? Said Tayuya, as she wanted to know what happened to her friend, and saw Virgil turn to her with those fierce blue eyes. An arrangement was worked out between her, the Hokage, and myself, though that is immaterial at this moment. I am giving you all one chance to come clean in telling me what I want to know so I can report it to the Hokage. If you don't, Then you will each have a one-on-one session with Morino Ibiki, and by the time you break a new Hokage will be in place that is not as merciful as the one currently sitting in the chair getting ready to retire, said Virgil, as he saw the three males of the group resisting the offer in the belief they could take it after being under Orochimaru's tutelage. But Tayuya it seemed was considering it, and was wondering if she could get a deal similar to Qin. If I tell you what you want to know, will I get to see Qin again, or possibly get the same deal? Said Tayuya, as didn't want to serve Orochimaru anymore, and figured that she could be in worse crap than she was now. Right? Do you want the same deal as her? Said Virgil, as he had asked Qin if she was all right with what was going to happen with her, and had practically begged him for it. If I get to be with my friend then fuck yeah. No matter what it is, I want the same deal as her, and I'll spill my guts about what I know about Orochi Teme, said Tayuya, as she was not about to protect some lying boy-touching prick with a god complex, and would prefer some form of sanctuary in the leaf instead of their prison. Tayuya, you backstabbing bitch. How can you betray Orochimaru-sama like this? Said Jirobo, as he struggled to get out of his restraints, and activate his curse seal only to find it wasn't responding. Because he nearly killed a good friend of mine and told me she was killed by the very people we were fighting, you fat ass. You want to work for that pedophile, then go right ahead, but I'm sure as hell not, and prefer a place where I won't have to sleep with one eye open every night, said Tayuya, as she glared at the weakest member of the group, and saw how the curse seal on his body wasn't responding. While you were all unconscious, Jiraiya of the Sannin took a look at your curse seals, and put near permanent suppressing seal structure on it just in case any of you decided to do something stupid. Anbu, could you be so kind as to wheel Tayuya's bed out of the room with me so we can go record what it is she has to say without any interruption from her former teammates, and make things easier for her, said Virgil, as the Anbu nodded since they all heard from the Hokage that he was going to handle them himself. Separate the worthy from the screwed. You better pray to Kami we never get free Tayuya, because if we do, we're going to kill you traitorous bitch, said Yukon, as he snaked his neck from behind his brother's back, and snarled at the red-haired girl. Turning to face Yukon, Virgil walked over to the two brothers stuck together, and after staring at the face of Yukon for only a second, Virgil backhanded face into his brother. The end result was Yukon having a broken jaw and Sakin's forehead bleeding from where his brother's face hit. Seated that these two go straight to Anko the moment they're cleared. Tell her to hurt them. A lot, said Virgil, as he had walked out of the room, and the Anbu shaking their heads while inwardly they were showing just a small amount of pity for the unfortunate prisoner. Or was it prisoners? Either way it didn't matter since the said persons was screwed. Hokage's office 2 hours later. Is this everything, Virgil? Said the Hokage, as he was glad he put Virgil in charge of the means to gather information out of the specified prisoners with their statements on what they saw while working for Orochimaru recorded for proof of defection. Yes, Qin was more than willing to give me information since she has no intention of going back to Orochimaru, and Tayuya was willing to spill her guts after she learned what the Sannin tried to do with her friend. Your student is a poor general when it comes to moving pieces across the board against his enemies, said Virgil, as he saw Hiruzen smile at that, and looked over the written report Virgil gave about the two speaking about what they experienced while being in sound. He never cared much for the pawns when it came to positioning them. But that is a story for another time, as we need to use this information to our advantage, and strengthen our position in the leaf before Orochimaru becomes bold again, said Sarutobi, as he now knew who Orochimaru's spies were in the leaf, and what places held the experiments the Sannin had been working on for achieving immortality. When do I get Tsunade with arrow Sennin? Said Virgil, as he knew that if he didn't get to the last Sannin, Orochimaru would, and tempt the woman with something she couldn't get in Konoha. 2 days. Jiraiya has been spending his time fixing Gaara's seal, as he's been finding that it was much worse than everyone thought, and needs another day to complete it, said Sarutobi, as he had heard from Jiraiya that Gaara's seal had long since been unstable since the boy was born, and needed a major overhaul to get it working properly. Good. What is the situation regarding Suna in general? Said Virgil, as he knew that because of this invasion, a lot of questions were being asked regarding the other hidden village, and not having answers was not something people wanted with this situation. Danzo had called for an immediate invasion of Suna while saying that it was the perfect opportunity to remove the hidden village off the map and would bring more clients to the village because of it. The idea was instantly shot down, as that would ruin everything the village stood for, and would make the fire daimyo displeased with them since the man would not sanction such a thing in the first place. A new alliance treaty for our 2 hidden villages is being written up right now by the late 4th Kage's middle child Subaku Kankuro and should be finished by the time after you return with Tsunade, said the Sandame, as he had been told by the oldest of the 3 siblings about how their father tried to turn Gaara into a weapon, and how they wanted her little brother to be powerful enough to make Suna have its reputation restored in being one of the strongest of hidden villages. I take it the councils will want to dominate the spoils of the treaty regardless of the very reason behind it was the very reason behind breaking the treaty? Said Virgil, as the 2 councils were already in an uproar as it was, and would seek to take it out on someone or something. The Fire Daimyo and Wind Daimyo have already decided that they will decide the final terms of the treaty since it was their decision in the first place that caused the problem with Suna allying with Orochimaru. Speaking of agreements, how are the 2 girls that told you what we wanted to know taking their new arrangements, and have there been any problems upon learning of them? Said the Hokage, as he knew that while one girl would welcome it, the other may not, and throw a very loud fit if her vocal nature was correct. Qin doesn't mind, as she welcomes the change, but Tayuya was resistant to it until Qin pleaded with her, and decided to go along with it, said Virgil, as he smirked at the red-haired girl's reaction to the agreement Qin made with him, and how she was going to get the same thing. I imagine given what I heard about her mouth making Anko learn a few things. But aside from that, they don't mind, said the Sandame, as he wanted to make absolutely sure his surrogate grandson was safe with the 2 former sound shinobi, and that they won't try to kill him in his sleep. No, said Virgil, as he blocked out the memory of Tayuya's face turning red like her hair in anger, and seemed to restrain herself from throwing something at him because of her new status within the leaf along with Qin. Very well then. In 2 days, go with Jiriya, and find Tsunade so she can become the next Hokage, said the Sandame, as he dismissed Virgil, and the said half-devil left for his clan home. Namikaze Estate some time later. Virgil walked through the door of his home before looking around to find it looked a lot cleaner than when he left it since it originally had tons of dust floating around. Walking towards the kitchen, he smelled the scent of food being made, and the happy humming sound coming from one Tsuchi Qin reaching his ears. In truth, Qin had jumped at the chance of being Virgil's slave, and swearing to serve her new master however he wished to be served without question. Unlike Orochimaru, the half-devil had no interest in abusing the former sound shinobi with threats, and treating her like some expendable tool that could be thrown out with just a flick of the wrist. And while Qin wasn't quite skilled in anything aside from minor taijutsu and genjutsu with the bells, it didn't stop Virgil from making sure Qin received necessary training for the future. Tayuya on the other hand was more resistant? Resentful maybe? Or was it possibly the idea of being a slave to anyone given her dominating presence that made her to be pissed off? In any case, Tayuya hadn't realized what the deal Qin made until after agreeing to it, and became Virgil's slave. It smells good, Qin-chan. I take it the cookbooks around here helped a lot, said Virgil, as Qin turned around, and saw him before running over to him in her maid outfit she now wore to give him a hug. Virgil-sama, I'm so glad you're home. Tayuya-chan has been a bit resistant in wearing her maid outfit. I told her she should since it's much better than the clothes we wore in sound, said Qin, as she pressed her form against his, and loved how he felt with the muscles his body had beneath his clothes. How she loved it, how she loved him. I'll speak to her and reach a compromise. As for you, well, don't look now, but your stew seems to be getting ready to boil over, said Virgil smirking at Qin, who looked at her stew, and saw it was ready to just about explode, making the girl run over to turn off the stove to prevent another kitchen catastrophe. The last time she cooked a meal unprepared, the meal came alive, and Virgil had to kill it with his sword before it could cause anyone harm. As for Tayuya, Virgil walked over to where he sensed her, and saw she was not wearing her maid outfit like Qin had welcomed herself to wearing. Instead, Tayuya took it upon herself to wearing a skin-tight crimson shinobi outfit, and saw her training hard in what was one of several sparring rooms in the estate. She of course sensed his presence, as it was the only signature in the house that toppled Tayuya's own along with Qin's, and when she spun around to face him saw that he was looking at her with an unreadable face. I know, I should wear the maid outfit, but I'm not much of a maid kind of girl, and would rather not have to wear the fucking thing, said Tayuya, as she nearly had to bite her tongue when she felt it try to move to say, please don't make me wear it, and saw Virgil nod in understanding. I know. Qin feels that is her role here in this house, But at the same time I want her to train so she is ready for anything, or anyone that comes here to hurt you both when I'm not around. As for you Tayuya-chan, I feel your current attire is appropriate for you, and suggest you wear it since it makes you look tough, said Virgil, as he walked by Tayuya, and gave her shoulder a pat before walking by. Thank you. Virgil-sama, said Tayuya, as she still wasn't used to calling him that, and knew that it would take some getting used to. It also shows off your rack and ass, said Virgil, as he smirked when he saw Tayuya's face turn red like her hair, and became angry at him. Hentai, yelled Tayuya, as she drew her short sword, and threw it at him with deadly accuracy. Or at least it would have, if not for Virgil catching it, and looked at Tayuya with an ever-disappointed look on his face. I'll deal with punishing you later Tayuya-chan, but for now let's see if Qin has finished making dinner, and fill our stomachs to our heart content. Oh joy, another round of my ass getting spanked in front of Qin, and with the tip of his sword no less, thought Tayuya, as she had been punished in that way when she had first become his slave, and refused to wear the maid uniform while calling him a chicken shit pussy that likes to take it up the ass by gay old man that have just taken Viagra. Tayuya got 100 hits to each ass cheek for that with the flat of his sword smacking it with enough force to make it red and bleed a little. Even now it hurt to move while training when not sitting down. 2 days later, time go kid, said Jiriya, as he saw Virgil walking towards him, and saw the sword gripped in his hands. Yes, it would appear so Ero Senin. Let's move, said Virgil, as he walked by Jiriya, and the super perverted muttered things along the lines of godchildren showing no respect for their godfather. Minato gave me more respect than this kid, thought Jiriya, as they walked towards the city that Jiriya's contacts in his spy network told him to find his fellow teammate of a Sannin that didn't wish him dead. Castrated perhaps, but not dead. Anything I should know about Tsunade the slug princess aside from the ever-rumored super strength and short temper for all perverted males in the world? Said Virgil, as he was going to know his prey before capturing her to bring back to Konoha, and let the old man retire to play with his grandchildren. That she has no soft spot for Konoha after losing her little brother and boyfriend when fighting in the Shinobi War when the Sandaime was still young. Then there is also the fact she is. Well promise you won't hurt me, said Jiriya, as he saw Virgil stop, and look at him with serious eyes. I'll hurt you if you don't tell me so I suggest you speak what it is you're hesitant to say, said Virgil, as he looked at the now sweating Jiriya, and saw the man bracing himself for the attack that was to come. Tsunade is also your godmother. Your mom assigned her to the task, but Tsunade never showed up the day the Kyuubi attacked, and could have saved your mom from dying in childbirth, said Jiriya, as he saw Virgil's eyes widen, and grip his sheathed blade in his left hand tighter. We may have to fail the mission Jiriya, as I may have to kill Tsunade, and only bring her back to Konoha. In pieces, said Virgil, as he saw Jiriya grimace at those words, and wondered if he should interfere should that happen. I was afraid he would say that, but at least Virgil didn't hurt me, and knee me in the ball before sending my body 20 feet in the air because of it, thought Jiriya, as he shivered at that memory, and hoped Virgil never told Tsunade about that. If he did, she would do it to him, and then Jiriya was pretty sure he would forever be pissing blood. Tanzuka City 5 days later. So she's here huh? Said Virgil, as he surveyed the place before him, and felt something was wrong. Yep. Tsunadeheim will either be gambling, drinking, or running from the creditors she owes from gambling, said Jiriya, as he saw the damage to where the large castle was supposed to be, and had a sneaking suspicion that something happened here that did not involve Tsunade's temper. I smell the scent of snakes in the area. Orochimaru has been here recently, said Virgil, as he snarled at the name, and vowed to finish the Sannin with great satisfaction behind it too. Then we better hurry in finding Tsunade, as there is no telling what has happened, and what it is that Orochimaru will do to get her on his side, said Jiriya, as he knew how Orochimaru would dangle what one's heart desires, and would only give after getting what he wants. Only what he wants contradicts what the other person wants and thereby nullifies the deal only after it was completed halfway. Orochimaru's half that is. They made their way to the local bar that fit Tsunade the best in terms of drinking herself into unconsciousness and found her there with another woman named Shizune holding a pig that, according to Jiriya was named Tonton, sat right in her lap. At first, the blonde-haired woman didn't seem to notice them, but that changed when Jiriya came closer, and called out Tsunade's name to make her take another look at them. Hearing her mutter a curse under her breath, Virgil sneered at Tsunade, and wondered if this was really the woman that the Sandaime had spoke so highly of from before he left. "Tsunade Hime, how good to see you again after so many years," said Jiraiya, as he sat down across from her in the booth the two women plus Pig were sitting in, and Virgil soon sitting next to the super pervert with Yamato in his lap. "Jiraiya, you old pervert, I can't believe you found me, and have the guts to come in here like we're dear old friends," said Tsunade, growling at Jiraiya, who had his hands up in defense in plea for her to not hit him, and saw Shizune looking at Virgil with calculating eyes that held no warmth in them at the moment. "What, I can't come see an old teammate of mine after so many years of being away from the Leaf?" said Jiraiya, as he smiled at her, and saw her scowling at him, and then over at Virgil. "Who's the Gaki? I didn't know you took on another apprentice after what happened with your last big failure of a prodigy. Did you decide to go with someone stupid this time so they can't be stronger than you?" said Tsunade, as she remembered how the fourth was the prize genin among Jiraiya's team, and had surpassed all the previous fire shadows in being the Hokage. "You shouldn't insult the Yondaime considering he did sacrifice his life for the village that your grandfather founded with your granduncle," said Jiraiya, as he saw Virgil silently grip his sheathed blade underneath the table, and the right hand pulsing silently with demonic energy. "Sacrifice, big deal. All those I love and hold dear are dead because they sacrificed their lives for the village. I care nothing for those that live inside its walls," said Tsunade, as she saw Virgil narrow his cold blue eyes at her, and she had to resist the chill that had suddenly wanted to crawl up her spine. "So you care no one in the Leaf? Is that what you just said? Not even your sensei? Not even perhaps your own godson?" said Virgil, as he saw her flinch at that, and look away from him like she had been slapped. "He doesn't matter anymore. Probably like those arrogant fools in the village, who thinks he's superior, and can't be harmed because he's a Leaf shinobi," said Tsunade, as she sensed his rage growing, and wondered if this young shinobi knew her godson. "You judge him, yet you don't know him," said Virgil, as he looked at Jiraiya to tell him to shut up since he was about to speak, and jabbed the Sannin in the ribs with his sword to enforce the silence. "What do you care? You're this one's apprentice, so my godson should be nothing more than a fly in the air to you, just going to be swatted away like all flies are," said Tsunade, as she saw him look at her with murderous rage in his blue eyes. And within seconds the table that separated her from the two in front was thrown aside like it was the fly that was being swatted. "You have 3 seconds to apologize for those words, or you will meet your end right here in a place where you love to drown your sorrows in," said Virgil, as he thumbed his blade up, and prepared to unsheath it fully to make her understand the ramifications of what was spoken here today. "Your student should know better than to tangle with me, Jiraiya. Even if he has some skill, I could take him out right here without hesitation," said Tsunade, as she Jiraiya looking at her nervously, and decided to break the silence Virgil instilled upon him. "Yeah, well. The thing is, Tsunade Hime, the man before you that wishes to end your life is kind of your godson," said Jiraiya, as he saw Tsunade look at him in surprise along with Shizune, and then back at Virgil seeing the bloodlust in his body. "What?" said Tsunade before the realization kicked in about what she had said about him and that she didn't care anymore what happened to him. "Surprised? I bet that genjutsu that covers up your real appearance that you are. Do you still think less of me like I was nothing more than a fly in the air?" said Virgil, as his chakra flared, and Tsunade felt the power he was unleashing in front of her. "Tsunade-sama, maybe you should apologize to your godson for what you said before he decides to get violent and attack us both," said Shizune, as she saw eyes that held no warmth, and felt Taunton squealing out in fear of him. "Virgil, stop. If you kill her, you will fail the mission the Sandaime requested of you to bring her back to the village to be the next Hokage, and protect it from Orochimaru," said Jiraiya. But even as he spoke those words, Virgil's chakra spiked, and he transformed into something purely demonic, with his face being that of a fox's own with crimson eyes that held untold fury. As if she would take the position. "I smell the scent of Orochimaru on her. The fact that Tsunade's alive means the snake needs her for something, as well as proving that she didn't turn him down, and is thinking about doing whatever it is Orochimaru asked her to do. This drunken shell of a former Leaf shinobi is not worthy of being Hokage, just as she is unworthy of being the granddaughter of the Shoden. The only thing she is good for is a quick one-night stand with some guy that doesn't know about her true age. I don't care if we fail the mission, as it was a failure the moment we set eyes on her, and saw she cares nothing for the village her arrogant fool of a grandfather forged years ago. You can plead, beg, and even go so far as to swear to never be a super pervert again to bring her into the village rasengan. This mortal life before me is not even worth drawing my sword, and giving a quick death too, said Virgil before he transformed back and left the bar filled with frightened customers. You know, for all of his cruelty in saying that Tsunade, I have to say that the kid is right, and you have changed from the woman I knew, said Jiriya, as he got up from the chair he was sitting in, and left to go find Virgil for some training to help the kid shake off his anger at his godmother. Tsunade-sama, what do we do now? Said Shizune, as she saw the busty woman that had taught her about medicine look deathly pale, and clutching the necklace around her neck. I don't know, Shizune. I think we need to speak to Jiriya first in a little while and see if he can't shed some light on what has happened to my godson, said Tsunade, as she got out of her seat slowly, and walked out the door to find Jiriya to get answers. She needed answers. Now, not far away. Come on, Itachi. Why are you waiting so long? We should have attacked earlier when they stopped in that hotel, said Kisame, as he saw Tsunade leave the bar with Shizune right behind her in tow, and Itachi looking at them with calculating eyes. Because Kisame, the boy is not as weak like we originally thought, and the power he summoned mere moments ago proves he could destroy us. Given his current enraged state, it would be unwise and suicidal to confront him even for a moment. Let's not forget that all three of the Sannin are in this area with their respected apprentices and could ruin everything, said Itachi, as he had heard the rumors and news about the Kyuubi boy reaching some kind of demonic ascension, using the fox's power, thus making the boy beyond normal means to capture him. We should report back to Pain, said Kisame, as he found himself lost in what to do, and only Itachi seemed to know. Yes, we cannot not win such a fight with all three sides here, even if we caught them all by surprise, said Itachi, as he along with Kisame left before they could be detected, and headed back to see Pain to await further orders. With Jiriya and Virgil sometime later. Keep it up, you're doing great, said Jiriya, as he saw Virgil using his right hand to summon the rasengan with the 3 steps the Toad Sage had given him to perform the jutsu, and had the first 2 steps down already. During their travels to find Tsunade the past couple of days, Virgil had Jiriya teach him the rasengan, and had found it to be quite the offensive weapon his father had made it out to be. Virgil spent 2.5 days on each step before Jiriya told him that the next one required using the previous 2 to make it complete. It was easier said than done, as the combining of the 2 steps was always about having the control needed to keep the rasengan stable in order to wield it, and that was becoming a problem with his demonic powers, making the orb unstable because the demonic chakra was more powerful than human. How is he coming along with the damn jutsu? Said Tsunade, as she saw Virgil holding out his right hand revealing his devil bringer while trying to keep the rasengan in his hand under control, and finding it was still difficult to master. He's got the 2 out of the 3 steps mastered, but the third one is being a pain after his ascension into being a half-devil, and trying to control its power, said Jiriya, as he began to fill her in on Virgil's change from being a short blonde to a much taller silver-haired swordmaster, and helped save Konoha from the invasion Orochimaru had cooked up for the Chunin exams. So his original name was Uzumaki Naruto, but he was really the Yondaime's kid, and our sensei kept it hidden to keep him safe with the intent backfiring. That just about sums it up right, said Tsunade, as she saw Jiriya nod, and a look of sadness on his face. Yeah, they basically treated him like he was the Kyuubi and did everything within their power to stunt his growth in being a shinobi, with the exception being a teacher named Iruka. After my little summoning exercise failed, Virgil had a talk with Kyuubi, and became this, though I also understand it happened thanks to the boy's ancestry. I don't much about the details behind it, but I do know that it is way back before the elemental countries, and that the bloodline is demonic, said Jiriya, as he saw Tsunade whistle at that, and Shizune looking at him like he was crazy. Not anymore, I take it. But I can see the reason behind our sensei choosing me, since I won't bend to the council's wishes like they tried to make him. Also, I was wondering if I could make a little bet with my godson, and see just how skilled he is for myself, said Tsunade, as she smirked at Virgil being unsuccessful in completing the 3rd step of the rasengan, and walked towards him. So, the drunken slug returns yet again, said Virgil, as he eyed the now irked woman in front of him, and saw she was holding back the urge to slug him. Watch with the name calling Gaki. I came here to make a bet with you. I bet you can't master the rasengan in a week, and if I win, you have to surrender that sword of yours to me, said Tsunade, as she saw Virgil's eyes narrow at her, and ignored Shizune telling Tsunade to stop this. Fine, but what do I get when I win? Said Virgil, as he saw Tsunade think for a moment in thought before lifting up her necklace, and showed it to him. This necklace was my grandfather's and he gave it to me. It has cursed everyone I love by killing them shortly after I give it to them to wear. Do you think you can handle the challenge? Said Tsunade, as she saw Virgil calculating the odds in his head, and then looked down at his sword before looking back at her with determined eyes. Deal. Oh, and for the record, betting for my sword is big mistake. Even if I handed it over to you, it wouldn't accept you as its new wielder, and would most likely shock you into oblivion with its demonic energy. So the way I see it, you better hope I win, or my sword will kill you on its own, said Virgil, as he smirked at her reaction, and Shizune's before walking off to have some alone time since he really didn't want to be around the woman any longer. You aren't serious about this bet, right Tsunade-sama? Said Shizune, as she knew how much that necklace meant to her teacher, and how putting it in someone else's hands was the last thing the slug princess wanted. I am Shizune. That boy showed me something today and that I've been ignoring my duties for far too long. I had to go back to Konoha to save it from itself as well as our old teammate Orochimaru. I told him I would meet with him in a week outside the city and I would think about helping him with a medical injury. However, given the events that played out tonight, I think helping Orochimaru is the least of my priorities right now, and I think you believe I'm right Shizune, said Tsunade, who saw her student nod in full agreement, and Taunton letting out a few oinks in the matter too. And well, be ready for him. Just be careful Tsunade him, as our old teammate will no doubt try something if he suspects you're about to turn him down, and we'll make sure it's one for the record books, said Jiriya, as he saw her nod, and told him everything about the conversation she had with her traitorous teammate. It had been several days now since the bet that Virgil made with Tsunade, and the half-devil was finding the last step not working like he thought it would. Still, Virgil wasn't going to have this obstacle before him stand in his way, and wasn't going to lose to some shame of a woman that was his failed godmother. Can I talk with you for a second Virgil-san? Said Shizune. As she had seen his training grounds he chose now turned into a war zone, and she remembered that this was a small sample of Virgil's power. So long as you don't distract me, then yes you can, said Virgil, as he focused on what felt like his 300th rasengan so far, and did not look at the woman standing in his training area. I would like you to withdraw from this bet Virgil-san. That necklace has brought all those that wear it outside of Tsunade misfortune in the form of losing their lives. She has lost two of her most precious people because of that necklace and it will do the same to you, said Shizune, as she saw stop trying to form a rasengan, and looked at her with a cold look that sent a shiver up her spine. You want to talk about losing precious people? My whole life, I've lost so much of what was never meant to be lost in the first place, and all because of my own father did the one thing that made him a true hero beyond all past events. Do you know how the people reward his son? They hurt him by making him feel like he's lower than dog shit, and beat him like a puppy who's taking a beating for just being alive. Tsunade lost her loved ones. I can understand she is in pain, but at least their deaths were quick, and they died for a noble cause they believed in. As for me, I'm still alive and I can still feel the memories of those days where people would attack me creeping up in the back of my mind. You want to talk about misfortune Shizune-san? I am the living breathing definition of that word, and I know several others in elemental countries that are right under me. Tsunade is on the list, but she is way down past the top 5, and has yet to make it to the top 10, said Virgil, as he walked away from Shizune after finding his desire to work on the rasengan leaving him, and went to relax for a little while. Had Virgil focused his senses more, he would have sensed Tsunade hiding behind a tree hearing everything he had said, and breaking down into a crying fit seconds later. In Konoha, Tsuchi-kin hummed a happy tune, as she was in civilian clothes today having gotten her master's permission before he left, and wondered if she should visit Virgil's friends. She had met a few of them after the invasion when she had accompanied her master on a few trips to various stores to get her a variety of clothing, and saw the platinum blonde girl from the Yamanaka clan in one of them. Ino had immediately bombarded her with all sorts of questions, as to how she was alive, why she was with Virgil, and if she knew how the former blonde boy became such a silver-haired god. to which Qin had declined to answering all of them since it wasn't her place to. Qin still had a hard time imagining her master seeking out a sensei for her and Tayuya to increase their skills rather than let them be weak servants. Flashback the day before Virgil left. "You want me to be their sensei?" said Yuhi Kurenai, as she looked to the two girls over, and saw the redhead fighting back the urge to say something right now. Yes. They both major in genjutsu and in Tayuya's case genjutsu along with summoning oni demons too with her flute. "Since you are basically a genjutsu master, I felt you could help them in their field, and possibly expand their arsenal of jutsus." "That's not going to be a problem, will it?" said Virgil, as he saw Kurenai hesitating in taking the two as students in her art, and it seemed the two girls thought it was because they were from Sound. "She doesn't have to, Virgil-sama. We understand if she wishes to reject us because of our past affiliation with Orochimaru in Sound," said Qin, as she saw the boy look over at her, and then at Kurenai with a piercing gaze that made the woman nervous. "Yeah, we perfectly fucking understand why this bitch doesn't want to teach us. We were the shitty pawns of a certain snake pedophile, so therefore we're considered to be damaged goods and should be looked at with second thoughts like we're hookers with STDs," said Tayuya, as she saw Kurenai glare at her for a second, no doubt for her choice of words, and would have said something about when Virgil raised an index-fingered hand to stop them both from speaking out. "No, that's not it. There is something else," said Virgil, as he had seen the hesitation was from a past experience with a previous student, and was afraid of repeating history. I had a student from the Kurama clan that specialized in genjutsu. They had been reduced to minor clan status because they weren't producing powerful genjutsu members like they usually do. However, they had one powerful prodigy in terms of genjutsu named Kurama Yakumo that had so much potential that it was frightening, and I had to tell her I couldn't teach her privately anymore. She refused to stop learning genjutsu and had to have a large portion of her powers sealed up as a result, said Kurenai, as she saw the look Virgil gave him harden at that before softening, and the two girls looking at Virgil for his own reaction. "Perhaps you shouldn't have turned her down out of fear. However, that is in the past, and this is in the present. Right now, you need to get over your feeling of ineffectiveness in being a sensei, and just teach them like you did Team 8, said Virgil, as he made a small mental note in his head to visit the Yakumo girl, and see just how powerful she really is. "You really want them to be stronger," said Kurenai, as it was rare for a slave owner to have strong slaves, and always made sure they were weak to prevent uprisings. "Yes, I have no intention of being a cruel slave owner, and I see a lot of potential in them that should not be squandered simply because of the change in their status," said Virgil, as she saw Qin along with Tayuya blush at that, and saw Kurenai sigh at his words. "All right, they can come see me when I'm teaching genjutsu to Team 8, but just be sure that I won't tolerate any of the redhead's foul language, and will take some means to stop her from speaking if I have to," said Kurenai, as she saw Tayuya scowl at her, and was going to let out a few choice words when Virgil raised a hand again that told the former bodyguard of Orochimaru to stop before she even spoke. "I agree. Tayuya, when you are with Kurenai in your training on genjutsu, I don't want you to swear at all, and every time you do, I will punish you myself," said Virgil, as he turned to face the girl, and her face was going white in fear. "Wait. How will you even know? You can't trust this frosty bitch. For all we know, she'll lie to you, and make something up just so you do. Punish me," said Tayuya, as the sting on her ass for her rude comment to him about the maid outfit still echoed after 2 days. "Simple. Qin here is going to tell me. She has no reason to lie, and I don't expect her to for either side. Swearing is okay from time to time, Tayuya, but you lack self-control, and I will not have my slave speak such horrible language whether I'm here or not. Do you understood me, Tayuya-chan?" said Virgil, as he saw Tayuya nod her head quickly in understanding, and a smile came to his mouth to show he was glad she understood. He didn't want to hurt that perfectly heart-shaped ass anytime soon. "Fine. Just for the record though, I do wish to curse at any man who tries to be perverted, and wail on them with my flute," said Tayuya, as she knew that there was going to be someone that was going to act perverted around her, and was not going to let them get away with it simply because she was a slave. "Agreed. If there is nothing else we need to discuss, then I will leave these two with you, Kurenai-san, since you are meeting with Team 8 today, and this will give you a chance to teach them all in one moment," said Virgil, as he bowed his head a little before leaving the three together, and hoped that Tayuya didn't hurt Kiba too bad. The Inuzuka boy had a habit of putting his foot in his mouth when he thought with his other head. End flashback. Qin shook herself from those thoughts, as she headed to the Ichiraku ramen stand, and saw the various members of the Rookie Nine sitting there deep in thought. Not surprising since her master had practically changed everything around them and they seemed to be stumped when it came to Virgil. "So what do you think of Virgil now?" said Shikamaru, as he saw Choji stuffing his face while being unsure, and Ino had hearts in her eyes. "He's hot. Much better than that blonde baka he was before," said Ino, as she was now envisioning him with her, and they got married before having kids. "You're one to talk about blonde bakas, Ino, since you have that particular hair color," said Shikamaru, as he broke Ino from her fantasy, and was rewarded by a fist to the face by the girl. "Shut up," said Ino, as she now had steam coming out of her ears, and glaring with fire in her eyes at the lazy now scared Nara. "Well, I find Virgil San's new look to be most hip and have declared him my new rival." "Yosh," said Lee, as he was determined to fight the half-devil, and push himself to new heights because of it. "I have to say, this new version the guy makes him alpha-like material, and I wouldn't be surprised if he got a few hot bitches on the side waiting to help him with his clan." "I know I would," said Kiba with a perverted look on his face that got him punched from both Ino and Tenten. "Hentai," yelled both girls, and they both huffed at the thought of Virgil doing that with some cheap fangirl floozies. "Somehow I knew that would happen," said Qin, as she made herself known to them, and greeted them all. "Qin-chan, how are you doing?" said Tenten, as she saw Qin sit down next to her in what was Kiba's now vacant seat. "No complaints. Virgil-sama is out on a mission to bring back Senju Tsunade to Konoha, and Tayuya is back at the Namikaze estate training." "How are all of you?" said Qin, as she saw Tenten's eyes widen at the name of Tsunade, and became very fangirlish. "Tsunade? Senju Tsunade is coming back to Konoha? That's incredible," said Tenten, as she hugged Qin in a death-like grip, and was thrilled that her idol was finally returning home. "She's the granddaughter of the Shodem, right?" said Kiba, as he got off the ground, and rubbing his sore jaw. "Yes. Virgil-sama told me that she's going to become the next Hokage of Konoha," said Qin, as she saw Tenten let out a squeal of delight, and Shikamaru slam his head down onto the bar counter like he had lost a game of chess. "Great. A troublesome woman is now going to be in charge of Konoha. Kami help us all," thought Shikamaru, as he knew from his own experience with his mother that women could be vicious life-sucking monsters when in power from which there's no escape, and the life of a missing nin was much easier. "I can't believe Tsunade-sama is going to be the next Hokage. What do I wear to her coronation? I need to pick something out right away," said Tenten, as she needed to go shopping for something that would get her idol's attention, and bolted out of the bar with Ino running after her to go shopping too. "Nice going. Except for you, there are no chicks here, and now a total sausage fest," said Kiba, who wanted to get near Ino or Tenten so he could silently feel up their legs. "Before running like hell, of course. Are you saying I'm not a woman?" said Qin, as she glared at Kiba, who let his alpha male pride get the better of him, and held his ground while Shikamaru along with Choji took several steps back. "Not until your half-devil master pops your cherry little slave girl," said Kiba, as he saw Shikamaru palms slap his face muttering, "Troublesome," and Choji was looking away before an angry Qin gave the Inuzuka boy a swift kick to the groin, making his voice go up several notches. "If and when Virgil-sama wishes to sleep with me is his business, Kiba baka," said Qin, as she left with Kiba still holding onto his family jewels, and Shikamaru telling Choji to never upset a girl whether she be free or a slave. With Virgil several days later, Virgil fought to hide his smirk that so wanted to come across his face, as he walked with Jiraiya, Shizune, and Tsunade to the secret meeting place where they agreed to speak to Orochimaru. Virgil could only hope he would have a shot at Orochimaru again along with Kabuto, since the two traitors had it coming for some time now. "They're here. The air is strong with snake," said Virgil, as he easily could find the scent of his enemies, and saw Jiraiya nod his head since this had been a long time coming. Sure enough, Orochimaru was at the designated spot with Kabuto, and another individual with a sickly look about him. Upon seeing the now much larger than expected group of shinobi, Orochimaru glared at his two teammates, and hissed with displeasure at seeing the half-devil Namikaze. "Tsunade, I see you decided not to help me with condition after all," said Orochimaru, as he saw Virgil smirk at him, and Kabuto move an inch closer to the Sannin to protect his master. I never said I would Orochimaru. You just assumed as always that I would be seduced by your poisonous words, said Tsunade, as she saw Kabuto cover his hands in green chakra, and prepared to use chakra scalpels normally used for medical purposes into a means to take life. True, but then again you are so easy to tempt given your addicting gambling nature, and this was one gamble I was sure you would risk taking, said Orochimaru, as he looked at Tsunade before turning his gaze to Virgil, who hit the hilt of his sword with his thumb, and made a "come on" motion with his right hand. Less chatting more fighting, said Virgil, as he looked at the albino looking at him with cautious calculating eyes, and the aura the man was generating seemed to suggest it was not human. Not entirely anyway. Kabuto, you will deal with Shizune. Kimimaro, kill the Namikaze, and bring me his silver-haired head. I'll deal with my old teammates myself. Even in my current condition, they are no match for me, said Orochimaru, as he drew upon his trusty sword from his mouth, and prepared for a fight with the other two Sannin. You always were full of it, Orochimaru, said Jiriya, as he got ready to fight his old rival for Tsunade before Dan came around, and blew them both away. After today, only one less Sannin will be alive, said Tsunade, as she saw Orochimaru sneer at her, and Jiriya before getting ready to strike with his swordsmanship skills. Correction, my dear sweet Tsunade-chan. There will be only one Sannin left alive, said Orochimaru, as rushed forward to kill both of them, and become the last Sannin of the legendary three. Virgil found his opponent most interesting, as Kimimaro turned his bones in his body into projectiles, and various weapons to use against him. Yamato easily cut through the projectiles with a few quick strokes before engaging Kimimaro in close-range combat. The bones the albino used for weapons were meant to stab, so all Virgil had to do was dodge what he didn't block with his sword and made sure to keep a watchful eyes on his enemy's movements due to their near unorthodox style. You are quite skilled. It's a shame you're not at full strength though, since it's clear you have the potential to surpass your master if you were, said Virgil, as he saw Kimimaro form a bone whip, and was about to attack long range when he began to cough violently with blood leaving his mouth. Not now. Not when Orochimaru-sama needs me, thought Kimimaro, as he willed his body to fight, and had to drop the whip before leaping back to avoid a slash from Virgil's sword. Damn, Kimimaro's condition is deteriorating faster because he's fighting and is going to die unless we all escape, thought Kabuto, as he dodged the poison needles Shizune shot at him, and tried to get in close for lethal hand-to-hand combat. Virgil, however, felt sorry for this individual, as this was a warrior of the battlefield he was fighting seemed cursed with a medical condition appeared to be lethal if it were left untreated, and from the looks of things, there was no treatment for this. Dodging a few more projectiles, the half-devil swordsman moved faster than Kimimaro could, and sliced off the albino's right arm clean off at the shoulder. Ah! Said Kimimaro, as he did a back swing with his left arm with spikes coming out of it, but that was cut off too when Virgil spun around, and sliced it off at the elbow. I'm sorry Kimimaro, but I must kill you, and then your master that you serve. You are a true warrior of the battlefield, so I ask that from one warrior to another I must ask you to forgive me, said Virgil, as he raised his left hand, and formed the rasengan in his left hand before shoving it into the albino's chest. The intense blast of power sent by Virgil to Kimimaro caused him to go flying 20 feet into a nearby boulder with his curse seal torn completely off his body. In the end, the albino was still alive if just an inch from death, as he willed his body to live, and saw Virgil upon him once again with a look of what seemed like pity. Do not look at me like that. I do not need your pity, said Kimimaro, as he saw Virgil look at him with those eyes, and the albino felt like the half-devil was trying to look for something in him. I've seen eyes like yours before. So much devotion for a single person that you would die for that individual without hesitation knowing they would outlive you, said Virgil, as he put away his sword, and looked down at Kimimaro's dying body. I was from Mist. When my clan attacked the village, they were all slaughtered while I was the exception since I didn't partake in the attack, making me the last of the Kagaya clan, and was found by Orochimaru. He took me in and trained me to be the best at what I am. His curse seal on me was his way of attaching a part of himself onto my soul, said Kimimaro, as blood flowed out of his mouth, and groaned out in pain. I see. You remind me of a girl I knew, who was similar in that regard with the obvious difference, but the end result is the same, and I would like to give you a chance to make it up to you, said Virgil, as he pushed back his trench coat sleeve on his right arm, and it turned into his devil bringer. Help me? Help me how? No one can help me cheat death. No one can, said Kimimaro, as he saw Virgil kneel down to his level, and put his demonic arm on the bloody chest of the albino. You are not normal, Kimimaro, and that's even by bloodline standards. Your aura is part demon, as all bloodlines are descended from, and if you give me your soul, I could make your mine. You would in a way live on in me, said Virgil, as he saw Kimimaro's eyes widen at that, and the thought of doing that was clearly running through his mind. But Orochimaru-sama needs me. I must, said Kimimaro, as he struggled to live, and found it becoming harder with each passing second. You are only a pawn to him. Piece on the chessboard that needs moving until your value ends, which seems to be very soon, and unless you take my offer, it will become a fact, said Virgil, as his demonic arm pulsed, and Kimimaro grabbed onto the demonic arm. If I do this, what do you gain in having my soul, and why should I even consider it? Said Kimimaro, as he saw the battle behind them still going on with Kabuto knocking down Shizune temporarily before going to help Orochimaru against the other two Sannin. If you do this, then your powers will go to me on a demonic level, and you will continue to exist. In a sense, of course, said Virgil, as he knew Kimimaro didn't want to die, and saw that the young man wanted to keep his existence going. Very well. I Kagaya Kimimaro Urbi give you my soul, Namikaze-sama. Use it and the power behind it with honor, said Kimimaro, as he felt his body finally fail him, and the last thing he saw was a glowing silver-like light cover his body. In fact, the light was so bright around Virgil that it got the attention of the others, as they saw Kimimaro's body turn into a silver orb of energy that went into Virgil's demonic, and temporarily blinded everyone around him. When the light ended, Virgil looked the same, except his right arm was now covered in bone, and had demonic-looking blade coming out of the palm. Turning around to face them, Virgil grinned an evil grin that made Kabuto along with Orochimaru very nervous, and they were right to be when Virgil was upon the sound medic Nin in a heartbeat before stabbing the man several times with his new weapon. Do you like it, Kabuto? I call this little number the Grim Reaper, and its purpose is to kill assholes like you, said Virgil, as he struck the medic Nin right between the eyes, and ended the man's life when the blade cut both sides of the brain in half. Unfortunately, the blood caused Tsunade to freeze up, and distract Jiraiya long enough for Orochimaru to act in trying to attack her. Jiraiya acting quickly summoned a battle toad with shield and sword that deflected Orochimaru's attack. However, the power-hungry snake Sannin was not going to be denied, and leapt over the summons before aiming his sword at Tsunade again. Only to find himself in pain after being hit by poison-tipped needles on his neck courtesy of Shizune firing them from her wrist launcher. It's a good thing Kabuto didn't kill you when he had the chance, said Jiraiya, as he saw Shizune limp towards her teacher, and try to snap her out of the trance she was in. Indeed, said Virgil, as he took his new weapon, and stabbed Orochimaru in the back of the head to make sure the man was dead before going up to Tsunade to deliver a solid punch to her face. What was that for? Said Shizune, as she was shocked along with Jiraiya at Virgil's actions, and saw the slug princess coming back to her senses. Waking her up. She's a medic nin and a Sannin for Kami's sake. How in the deepest regions of hell can she even be one with the way she acts around blood? How can she even become the Hokage with such a weakness? All someone has to do is attack Tsunade with a blood clone before ending her life after she freezes up, said Virgil, as he saw the female Sannin look at him while rubbing the side of her face he had punched. There are more easier ways to do it, said Jiraiya, as he saw Tsunade get up, and glare at him for that punch. Maybe, but I know if it was the other way around, I would have been super punched out of my boots, and been told to deal with it just as I am now to her. So shut up. Besides, I needed to give her a little payback for leaving me alone in the village like you did years ago. Or perhaps that kick to your groin that sent you 20 feet into the air wasn't enough, said Virgil, as he saw Jiraiya back up, and put his hands up defensively. Geez Virgil, when you lay on the guilt, and put in on thick, said Jiraiya, as he saw Tsunade get off the ground, and look at Virgil before walking over to the boy. I saw you use the rasengan against the albino, but I don't understand what it is you did to his body, and your arm, said Tsunade, as she saw bones that went around his right arm retreat back along with the blade, and then turn back into a normal human-looking arm. Simple. As I told Kimimaro, his aura was part demon, and in taking his soul I was able to take his powers as my own on a demonic level. The more I use it, the more that power evolves, giving me new skills, and new powers that are different from the last one, said Virgil, as he saw the group now looking surprised by this piece of information, and the first to snap out of it was Tsunade. Well, since you did master the rasengan, I have to give you this in accordance with our bet, and in a way, I'm kind of proud of you for doing so. Godson, said Tsunade, as she put the necklace around Virgil's neck, and then kissed him on the forehead in an almost motherly way. Does this mean you intend to be the Hokage like the Sandaime once? Said Virgil, as he saw Tsunade smile at him, and nod before grabbing him by the trench coat, giving him a death glare in the process. You bet, and you better not hit me again or else I'll make you do D-ranked missions until you become Hokage, said Tsunade, who saw Virgil smirk, and had to resist hitting him to remove it. And you better be a good godmother or else I may have to go show you why I was the pranking king back in Konoha that will quadruple your paperwork load, said Virgil, as he saw Tsunade increase her death glare before giving up, and sighing while muttering how she needed to get a drink. She didn't have the strength to argue with him. Konoha 3 days later. The trip back to the Leaf was fairly easy, as Jiraiya summoned Gamabunta, and after a good beating on the super pervert by the Toad boss for what he did to Minato's son before taking them back to the village. To see Konoha again brought back bad memories for Tsunade, but she knew that this place also held bad memories for Virgil too when he was just a boy, and she wasn't around to protect him. The people were also shocked to see the Slug Princess back in Konoha, with many believing she had done what the Sandaime had failed to do in Rain, and the Kyuubi brat, thinking the necklace the half-devil now wore was some kind of leash. I can't believe these people. I wonder what it was your father saw that made them want to defend this village, said Tsunade, as she had seen the hate-filled looks, and knew they were aimed at Virgil. You and me both. Doesn't matter now though. You're going to be in charge with the old man helping you out with the politics and telling you who to trust, said Virgil, as they made it to the Hokage Tower, and saw the old man relaxing while reading a certain orange book that made Tsunade quite upset at seeing. I see now how Jiraiya got away with his peeping for so many years, said Tsunade, as she saw the Sandaime scramble to hide the book, and blush in embarrassment. Oh Tsunade, you're back, and so are the others. I half expected you to bring back Jiraiya in a full body cast for trying to peep on you, said the Sandaime, as he saw them sweat drop at his words, and Virgil let out a small laugh at that comment. Very funny, sensei. But now that I'm back I expect to be brought up to speed with my godson, and just what possessed you to let things get so bad while I was away, said Tsunade, as she saw the Hokage sigh in shame, and motioned her to sit down so he could tell her the entire story. Virgil, not caring for this however, left to head back to his estates to see how his 2 slaves were doing, and hoped they had behaved themselves while he was gone. Namikaze Estates 15 minutes later. I hate doing these fucking chores, yelled Tayuya, as she had been doing some chores that she couldn't sweet talk or curse her way out of doing. Please try to calm down, Tayuya-chan. I know doing some housework seems degrading, but considering the alternative we could be in right now, I prefer this easily, and it's not like we're not allowed to continue our shinobi training. Kurenai-sensei was even able to teach us a few jutsus she knows outside of genjutsu, and that strange spandex-wearing guy even said wearing weights would help too, said Qin, as she wore ankle bracelets even now, and wrist bracelets that had weight seals on them to make them. Don't remind me of that weirdo, as his hugging of that tinier version of him made me want to puke, and I had to deal with sneering assholes along with perverts that wanted to get into my pants thinking I would just submit because I'm a slave, said Tayuya, as she had to deal with a few assholes that wanted to teach her a lesson for siding with the snake Sanin, and then being the slave of the Kyuubi brat, like it was some horrible curse. Don't worry about it, Tayuya-chan. They are fools that will soon be put in their place, said Virgil, as he entered his home, and saw the 2 girls look up from their duties to see their master had finally returned. Virgil-sama, said Qin, as she rushed over to him, and gave him a bone-crushing hug while Tayuya just waved since she wasn't much for the whole giving affection to others thing. Hello you two. Have you been good while I was away? Learning anything useful from your sensei? Said Virgil, as he saw Qin nod, and so did Tayuya, though she was silently mumbling about queer men in green spandex making her want to puke out 2 weeks' worth of food from her stomach. You will have to excuse Tayuya-chan for her words, Virgil-sama. We met Maeda Guy and his student Rock Lee while you were gone for physical training and they performed a very disturbing genjutsu, said Qin, as she breathed in her master's scent, and barely held back the moan from the sensation of it. Oh please, Qin just wants to do the physical training so you can have stamina needed to fuck your brains out, said Tayuya, as she ignored the eep sound made by Qin and the blush on the girl's face. Really? Said Virgil, as he saw Qin's face going cherry red, and her looking at Tayuya with an angry face before looking back her master with embarrassment. Don't listen to her, Virgil-sama. She's just jealous because I'm here and she can't jump you herself, said Qin, as she saw Tayuya go cherry red now, and looking angrily at Qin for that statement. That it's not tolerated and I will be punished for it, said Tayuya, as she looked at her half-devil master for mercy, and Qin seemed to have an apologetic look on her face for getting her friend in trouble. Yes, follow me for your punishment. You too, Qin-chan. Don't think I didn't see what you were trying to do, said Virgil, as he saw Qin look down in embarrassment, and knew that she had to be punished too. Yet, at the same time Qin was looking forward to it, and was feeling excited about it. Hokage Tower Council Room. Tsunade-sama, how good it is to see you back in Konoha again after so many years, and to become the Hokage like your grandfather did years ago, said Kaharu, as she greeted the younger woman with a smile that didn't match her eyes, and Tsunade could see it easily. Oh, I do enjoy being here again, Kaharu-san, but I find that Konoha has changed a great deal since I've been here last, and a few things are concerning me dearly, said Tsunade, as she wanted to nip this in the bud, and deal with the things about Konoha she greatly disapproved of, appropriately. Concerning you? How so? Said Homura, as he saw the woman smirk at him, and it was not something the councilman liked. My sensei has been informing on the past 12 years of a certain Namikaze's life and how certain individuals have been doing everything in their power to usurp the Yondaimi's dying wish and seeing his son be a hero. That, and you've been spoiling an unstable Uchiha, who thinks only of himself while not even caring for that of others. Now why would that be? Said Tsunade, seeing the shinobi council pale at that information, and turned to the Sandame with a glare. Sarutobi, how can you speak such lies to your former student, and make us out to be the villains after all the good we have done the village? Said Kaharu, as she glared at the old Hokage, who glared back, and silenced both his old teammates. Lies? You think I would not keep an eye on you too all this time? You were among the most outspoken in either killing Virgil or turning him into a weapon for Danzo. I myself am guilty of denying the boy what was his, even in my belief it was for the best, but now that the Namikaze heir has returned to his rightful place in Konoha, I can make it up to him, and make sure he gets the respect he should have gotten from the beginning, said the Sandame, as he saw his old teammates protesting this, calling him a demon lover, and an Uchiha hater, of all things. It's clear the demon has poisoned both your minds. I say the decision in choosing a new Hokage should be the job of the councils from now on, and I intend to bring it up at our next meeting, said Homura, as he was not about to let these two demon-loving fools stop them from keeping all the power they gained from the Yondaimi's death. You can bring that motion to the next meeting all you want, Homura-san, but you forget that such a law cannot be made thanks to the village charter, and to change it could be considered treason that I would have to report to the daimyo, said the Sandame, as he knew the last thing these two wanted was for the village's actions concerning Virgil to be made known to the feudal lord, and be punished for it. If there is nothing else, get out of my sight before I throw you out, and need to seek out Shizune for medical attention, said Tsunade, as she stomped her foot, and made the two former shinobi run out of the room. That was pleasant, said the Sandame, as he saw his former student reveal a much more gentler smile, and hugged him with tears running down her face. I'm sorry, Sarutobi-sensei, for everything I have done wrong in my life, from leaving the village that I should have stayed in to help you with to that of my godson, said Tsunade, as she had done a lot of soul-searching, and found her decision years ago to leave the leaf had been a big mistake. Apology accepted, Tsunade, said the Sandame, as he walked out of the room to have a drink of sake with her, and to enjoy the moment. Namikaze estate at the moment. Did you two learn your lesson? Said Virgil, as he sheathed his sword, and both girls pulled up their panties with red faces to match their sore rears before going to retrieve their clothes. Yes, Virgil-sama, said Qin and Tayuya together, as they both got spanked by the flat side of Yamato at the same time, and had to wait until he had sheathed his blade to get their clothes back on. Good. I know the punishment seems harsh, but I do not do this out of malice, and I hope you understand I set certain rules here to show you restraint. To Yuya-chan, I know you like to swear a lot to scare people, but when you aim it at people that you consider your friends, then I cannot condone it, and need to remind you that doing so is wrong. As for you Qin, I punished you because you baited your friend into breaking my rule on no swearing, and needed to be taught a lesson on that. Since you have learned your lesson, I suggest you all go to the hot springs for a nice relaxing bath to take away the soreness, and reflect on my words, said Virgil, as he kissed them both on their foreheads, and smirked when they blushed at the sign of affection. Yes, Virgil-sama, said the two girls before they headed off to heal their sore butts and possibly get the rest of the day off. I wish I could show them more intimacy, but at the same time I feel like I don't know how, and I need help on the subject. But who to turn to? All the males are perverts. The women around me will just give me advice that will make me feel submissive, and that's not my nature in the slightest. I wonder how my parents would deal with this, thought Virgil, as he looked back on all the people in his life, and realized there was only one person he could talk to that wouldn't waste his time. Amino Iruka. Konoha Academy 10 minutes later. Iruka sighed, as he watched over the youngsters in his classroom doing their assignments, and not causing a ruckus for once that would make a teacher wish for sulfur monosulfide ranked missions with an Anbu unit. However, his mood quickly changed when a certain half-devil made his appearance at his classroom door, and got the attention of the kids in the class. Naruto, said Iruka, as he saw the former blonde enter the room, and the kids going all excited at seeing him. Boss, said Konohamaru, as he got up from his seat, and tackled the half-devil, who caught the kid, and held him in a brotherly hug. Hey Konohamaru, behaving yourself? Said Virgil, as he saw the young Sarutobi shake his head no, and got his hair ruffled for it. Nope, I'm pulling pranks and making teachers crazy, said Konohamaru with his two friends yelling out they do it too while Hinata's younger sister Hanabi sighed while banging her head against her desk calling the trio bakas. Though like her older sister Hinata, little Hanabi did think Virgil was handsome, and would be lying if she said otherwise. That's good. Still, when you aren't doing that, I expect you to be training, and getting stronger with your friends. After all, I do expect to be your Chunin sensei one day, and train you in everything I can, said Virgil, as he saw the boy looking at him wide-eyed, and was jumping around excitedly because of it. Oh, I almost forgot. Iruka, I need your advice on something, but I need to speak to you about it alone, and it can't wait, said Virgil, as he motioned for his old teacher to come follow him, and Iruka looked at his class with a look that said, behave yourself or else. While he was away, the kids all had halos on their heads when he left, which soon turned to devil horns, and the scheming to prank their teacher had begun. What do you need Naruto? Said Iruka, as they entered an empty classroom, and saw his former student walking to the window with his hands behind his back and thought. First off, call me Virgil, as I changed my name to that of my ancestor, and I need your help in regards to women, said Virgil, as he saw Iruka's jaw hit the floor, and would have thought it to be humorous if this wasn't so important. You want my help in regards to women? You did have the talk, right? Said Iruka, as he wanted to be perfectly clear with his former student that was the foundation in terms of a young adolescent entering puberty. Of course, but you are the only one I can trust in giving me good advice, and not screw me over, said Virgil, as he saw Iruka nod, and walk over to him before putting a hand on the half-devil's shoulder. I mean Virgil, I never really had a relationship with anyone, and while I'm not old that I still can't try. All I can say to you is that you should think of the one you are with respect. Listen to them and they will listen to you when you speak in return, said Iruka, as he patted Virgil on the back, and the half-devil smirked at Iruka before giving him a hug. Thanks Iruka, though if I were you, I would find that special lady soon because I think I see a few gray hairs on your head, and ladies don't like old people showing their age, said Virgil before he left with shell-shocked Iruka quickly looking for a mirror and saw he had been lied to about the gray hairs. Virgil, yelled Iruka, as he was now mad, and his anger increased further when he returned to his classroom when he was hit by a couple dozen pies, and the kids laughing at him after they finished taking a picture seconds after it happened. Oh how Iruka wished the old rules for spanking misbehaving students was still around. Namikaze Estates moments later, Qin and Tayuya were in a state of bliss, as the indoor hot springs soothed their aching bodies, and their sore butts from the punishment still fresh in their minds. When they both entered, they each caught a glimpse of the other's rear end, and saw they each got the same if not close to the same amount of redness. They had both apologized for getting the other in trouble and would make sure to rein in their thoughts that conspired to get the other in trouble with Virgil. "Did you mean that? You thought I was jealous of you being close to Virgil so I could get it on with him?" said Tayuya, as she saw Qin blush in embarrassment at her own choice of words, and looked uneasy. "Well, aren't you? I mean, I know you are all against being with someone since you feel that your swearing scares guys off, but I know you are nice beyond that tough cursing machine-type girl, and Virgil-sama is sweet in his own way," said Qin, as she saw Tayuya look away while refraining from cursing while have a tint of red on her face, and didn't look at her fellow slave in the eyes. "Say I did like this guy, whether I was free or slave, and I wanted to eventually jump his devil bone. I would have to consider you along with any other girl in his life to be a big factor," said Tayuya, as she saw Qin blush further, and looked away since the thought of being intimate with Virgil was something she wanted. "Am I interrupting anything?" said Virgil with a towel around his waist, and saw both girls blushing at the sight of him along with the fact he was only wearing a towel. "Holy shit," thought both girls while a thin line of blood ran from their noses and were trying to say something, but the words seemed to be blocked by something in their throat. "You don't mind if I join you? It's been a long time before I could enjoy a hot spring bath with anyone," said Virgil seductively, as he decided to act on certain pieces of advice he got after he had his little talk with Iruka, whose advice was insightful, didn't really help with what he was feeling, and had to go to a more demonic source. His estates with her collapsing on her new bed before squirming around in it like a cat does in a comfortable spot it likes. Instantly, Nibby began talking to her vessel, telling her how lucky she had become, and was finally living in a place where the room could barely hold one person with a bed that didn't look like a prison cell. "Now if only you had stripped naked for that half-devil and asked him take your virginity," said Nibby, making Yugito blush several shades of red before going into a squeal along with unleashing a big hissy fit that made Nibby laugh and ignore the threats the woman gave.
That's all for now. If you enjoyed this video, then please like, share and do comments.